Does anyone find that a little bit too loud, that video? Wait, I gotta stop it. Stop it! Stop it! Welcome to this Sunday, if you're in Japan. If you're not Japan, hey, where's the guest? Where'd he go? Dude! Hey, Gareth, welcome back. I understand that it's still Saturday for you.
It is still Saturday night for me. Right now it is it's 8 minutes past 8 p.m. on Saturday night. So you are once again, Nathan, living in the future.
The future, my friend, is windy, clear, and warm.
Clear and warm. Very good. Well, today in Southern California was an absolutely gorgeous day. It was the temperature was about 68 degrees. It was a clear blue sky, not a cloud in the sky, just slight breeze, the ruffling through the palm trees. It was stunningly beautiful.
I will see your 68 degrees and raise you and raise you some sort of conversion here. Just let me see here. Wait. Fahrenheit. I don't I used to live in Fahrenheit land, but I don't remember it in Fahrenheit too. Everyone just wait. This is part of the show. Okay, so 68 you said?
Yeah, all right. 68 degrees.
I will see your 68 and I will raise you. Oh, it's warmer where you are. Okay, never mind. All right.
What is it where you are in Celsius?
You know what? I would have been smart to bring up my smartphone. I don't know what the temperature is. It's not 28. It's not 20 degrees or it's not 60.
It's Fahrenheit 451.
You know, if you ever want to talk about that book, I'd be happy to.
Sure.
Not today. Not today. We have a couple other things that are on the sort of plate.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
Well, but I'm kind of thinking like, how would I introduce that? Because I do actually, before I want to get into the video, if I may, I would also like to just preface it by saying that I was a little bit wrong in a recent small video I did. And Martin Irwin, who's probably not watching today, he and I have gone back and forth about this issue. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, there's a little bit of a mini disc interjection here. There's a 4-pole earphone here. TRRS. Necessary to get stereo out of a Sharp recorder or player that bears the AUV or 1-bit badge. Connecting to last time. So those portable ones. Now, this bad boy here is 4-pole because it has an included remote control and microphone.
Yeah, the mic usually you get the 4 when you get the mic on.
Exactly. However, strangely enough, somehow that 4-pole, which basically is a regular 3-pole earphone, because it's TRS plus whatever that mic thing is, somehow when you plug it in an AUV, you actually get stereo. You don't get the full 80 decibels, but you're definitely getting probably within 50 to 60 range. So a cheap way to get stereo. And if you like the sound of some microphones and remoted little earphone that you got, plug it into your AUV.
A lot of kind of either cheap to mid-price earbuds now by default come with the little microphone thing on it. It's very difficult to get a decently priced set of earbuds without the little microphone deal on it.
The microphone deal, he says.
The microphone deal.
You've been in is that a California word? The deal thing.
The deal. I don't know.
He says
what's the deal, yo? What's the dealio?
Hey, you know what? I got to ask you to do a favor for me. So the computer I'm on, evidently the inbox I have does not work with my account for some reason. My one downstairs does. Can you grab the link from the video that I hope everyone watched?
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second here.
And plug it into the chat, please. You know, it's in the description to this video as well. Should have thought about that.
There we go. You got it from Odyssey.
I did from Odyssey. Yeah. Great platform. Sometimes a little bit of connection issues. Now we're not going to watch the video. We're not going to all watch the video here, unless you had a couple of.
You want me to put it in the chat?
Oh yeah, put it in the chat, please. Put it in the chat, please.
In the chat. All right.
Oh, how smart was I?
There it is.
All right. Wait, what? It's taking a little time. He said it's there. All right, guys, there's going to be a link that's coming through. I don't know how many of Gareth's... By the way, welcome back, man. Thank you very much.
Welcome back.
Yeah. So I don't know how many of his your followers. Thank you guys for being here.
There's a couple in there. I recognize some names.
Right. Well, you guys are all welcome. Well, you put that in the wrong chat. Oh, you put it. Oh, here.
I did it both.
Oh, you did it both?
Yeah.
All right.
All are welcome. Come into the light, Caroline.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, you guys do that. If anyone you guys want to touch that or click that link, and if you were one of my followers, I hope that you did it already since I set up the stream sometime last night. Now, this is a 20-minute video by a lad by the name of Morgoth's Review. He's a forklift driver up in somewhere in the north of England. You might be able to place his accent a bit better than I do.
Sounds like he's a bit from Lancashire. He talks a bit like that. He's very much like that. If you look at this video from Adam Curtis, he's very like that. You know what I mean? He's talking like that, a bit like that.
I think Morgoth's just been doxxed. It's Gareth Davies!
It's me. I am Morgoth.
All right.
Bow before me.
Live with Morgoth. I never thought I'd be here in this one. Wow. Morgoth. Not the Morgoth that any of you Lord of the Rings people, although, he got famous for doing reviews of Lord of the Rings books and stuff.
Is that where way back in the day? From? Okay.
Evidently, yeah. I didn't know him back in the day. I know him now. Follow his channel. If any of you guys kind of like, I guess, a working man's philosophical take on things that are kind of happening in the now. That's how I would.
I was unfamiliar with this guy until you sent me the link. I'd never heard of him. But watching his video, it's very clear that he ain't no dope. He knows his stuff.
No, I think he's well read.
Yeah,
certainly better than me.
He's very much on it.
Yeah, he talks about things I probably couldn't even conceive of in my life. Now, I don't know if he's a couple of years older than me, so he's got a little more experience, or if he's just got an older voice. But he's Anyway, he's one of my favorites. Well recommended. The topic of his video was the new Adam Curtis. I believe that's what he's called.
Adam Curtis.
Haven't watched it. Haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
He's got a new video. What's the name of the video?
The latest one he came out with is called "I Can't Get You Out of My Head."
Can't Get You Out of My Head. Sounds like a song.
It does. It's a 6-part documentary. It came out, I think, like a month ago. And luckily for us, on his Adam Curtis YouTube channel, he's released the entire thing for free, so you can watch it for free.
Got the link for that? No, but let me do it.
There you go.
Here, you keep talking.
Adam Curtis, and his documentaries are very, very well put together, and very thought provoking.
Okay.
And he has a very soothing voice. He's got one of these voices you could listen to him talk all day.
Whoa! Sorry.
Yeah.
I got this. Wait a second. BBC. This is a 2-minute. This is a 2-minute. There's a 2-minute video. I can't find it. All right. This is a little bit too difficult. All right.
Just go to YouTube and type in Adam Curtis.
Okay.
You go.
You guys make everything sound so simple.
It is. It's easy.
I don't YouTube. Oh, you go YouTube. All right. So guys, just go to YouTube.
YouTube.
What? Ah, man, I did it again. Adam
Curtis.
Documentary. 130. Wow, so loud. All right, it's coming straight in my ears. The first thing. Okay.
Did you find it? Yeah.
Can't you? Yes, guys. I'm gonna link his channel
so you can watch it later.
I'm subscribing right now. I suggest all you subscribe, because the homework for this 20-minute video that we're going to be talking about is a 7-hour documentary. Okay.
Yeah. I've only gotten to like part 5 so far, but I think it is like either a 6 or 7-part documentary, and you can't watch it all at once. It took me like 2 weeks to get to where I'm at, so I just watch an hour here and there. But it's well worth it. It's very interesting, and the way his documentaries are structured is it's very much like he's the documentarian version of Quentin Tarantino. And what I mean by that is, sometimes Tarantino will make a movie and you'll see the end of the movie in the middle and the beginning at the end, and everything's out of sync. But when you finish the movie,
right,
it all makes sense.
One of those, it's kind of like out of sync, like flashback sort of stuff, or
no. Like he'll be talking about like Tupac Shakur, right? And
yeah,
he'll talk about Tupac Shakur for 5 minutes, and then he'll immediately cut to Mao Zedong in China in the 1960s, and he'll talk about him for 10 minutes, and then he'll immediately cut to Malcolm X, and he'll talk about it. So all of these things which appear separate and indistinct, but when you finish the documentary, you can see the thread that links them all together, and the whole arc of the story, and it makes sense. But you got to watch the whole thing, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Says the man who's only seen half of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's worth a look, but it is an investment in time, especially for the new one. It's not like short attention span theater. You really got to dig into it.
All right. Now, being able to dig into a 7-hour, this is quite actually, I don't even know if I can use the specs of that 7 hours, digging into it, bits and parts that don't seem to be involved, and then later on as you watch it, they all sort of connect.
Right.
Is there any sort of that sort of structure? Does that touch the sort of topic of, and I believe you're talking about individualism versus collectivism?
Yeah,
that's kind of the topic of that.
That's the topic. He's basically describing how we got to where we are today.
Right. Okay.
With all the because right now identity politics is very, very prevalent, right? One of the things I noticed when back in 2016 when Trump was running for president,
right?
It was Trump versus Clinton, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Back
4 years ago.
This was 4 years ago.
5 years ago.
Trump versus Clinton. Yeah. And if you talked shit about Clinton, people would automatically assume that you were a Trump supporter, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And the concept or the idea that no, they're both pieces of shit. I don't like either of them.
Yeah.
It's like, does not compute. Like in Star Trek where the robot can't understand and he does not. It's that kind of
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's identity politics. It's like if you're against Black Lives Matter, then obviously you're a racist.
Right.
But that's obvious. That's also obviously that's not true. Right. But that's that's the perception.
Right. That's it. I think I remember back in 2016. I'm not gonna listen. I don't really have a political. I have no one that I look up to at the moment in any sort of political field,
that's a good thing.
or any party. And I would like to, though. I honestly would like to have someone I can look up to.
Why do you want to be led? You got father figure issues or something?
I don't think so. But
why do you want to be led by anybody?
I guess I'm one of those collectivist people where I want to feel like I'm part of something, and maybe I've been thrust too much for too long into sort of the individualistic world, where it seems like there's nothing that anyone around me sort of lives for apart from their salary, and so for me, I kind of. Maybe it's a fantasy world that will never exist. That there's like a society, like when you watch one of those old Disney movies, and this is probably not the best example, but let's say Cinderella or something. You don't, not the best example. This is not the best example, but you don't get the kingdom, right? But you don't get the talk of like how everyone makes their living or anything. But you get the idea that everyone looks up to the king, and they're so excited by, for instance, the ball. And then the kingdom itself, they don't show that you could come from the backside and be like, well, they're not showing you the destructive element and blah, blah. But there's also sort of this idea that there is a central pull that people can look up to, whether you're a religious person and you want to look up to the church, or whether you're an idealistic person and you want to look up to like a philosopher king or something like that. I guess
human beings. I mean, we're apes, right?
Right.
So we're naturally drawn to the concept of the hierarchy,
Right.
right? It's like in our DNA, like it's the alpha male and the
Right.
leader of the pack and all this stuff. We're naturally drawn towards that. But in many ways, it's a primitive concept to
Right.
put your faith in something beyond yourself. How about you just take responsibility for you?
Right. Okay, so I think we got someone on both sides of perhaps the Morgoth take on this video. I may be wrong.
No,
I may be wrong.
no. Yeah.
I have no idea. So how I would to talk about the Morgoth take.
Mhm.
Now he basically brought up one figure that most of us probably know from the movie A Beautiful Mind from 2001, which
Yeah.
was John Nash, I believe his name.
Genius,
And
the genius guy, right?
right. And Morgoth is saying that there's this thing, this idea that developed, which is game theory, where you have everyone is essentially, now you could take it to be a portion of society that is individualistic, or an economic economic element that's individualistic, and they're all out for themselves, essentially.
Right.
And he is suggesting that this sort of a neoliberal policy to basically extract the most. He's a right winger, so he's to extract the most labor from people, and also get them to sort of not sort of react or act as a group with quote unquote group interests. So and that's how Morgoth would take it, or what he was kind of describing. And so I would fall on the, I guess, the non-game theory side, where I would look for an ideal of, say, our community coming together against someone that wants us all to be like fractioned individuals. But I understand, at least from economic perspective, that that's probably going to have a detrimental effect in general, probably on sort of economics.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear what you're saying. If when you fracture society into like what's happening right now, right? Whereas when I was growing up, I was always taught and believed that someone's race was irrelevant, right?
Yeah, right.
It's completely irrelevant. It meant nothing. It was just, is the person cool or are they a dick, right? That's pretty. The whatever ethnicity they are, not interested. Could care less, right? So I was always thought that it was irrelevant. Now today, everyone's being taught that no.
Right.
It's not irrelevant. It's very, very important.
Right.
It's a huge part of who people are, right? So so what that does is that it fractures society, right? It pits people against each other, even if it's unconsciously,
right?
So it does. It splits and fragments society in many, many ways.
Wow. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a child of the what's that rap? There's a Canadian rapper by the name of Luke Boyd. No, not Luke Boyd. Classified, and then he had a whole bunch of rappers in one of his brother's albums. His brother and the big brother and little brother are both rappers, and they're talking about something, and the older guy was looking down on the younger guy, and the younger guy was looking down on the older guy for being old, and the younger guy said, the older guy said, I'm an 80s baby, a 90s boy, something like that. And so I'm a 79 is when I was born, tip of the Generation X, but I'm basically a 90s. I came conscious of my being in the 90s.
In the 90s, yeah.
And that was definitely the sort of, that was the talk. That was the talk that, no one's race or religion or nothing mattered. And for sure, right now, identity politics is certainly
it really matters.
Is de rigueur, I guess. But I would take probably. When I came to Japan 7 years, 8 years ago. I was kind of rubbed wrongly in this sense. I came from Canada and through the system, and you're basically taught to be from the like basically there's nothing good that any person of European descent ever did, essentially, even back in the early 2000s, and certainly through university. And so you're basically taught to deconstruct everything. Now you can call that what's this word, identity political sort of tool,
Right.
or you can call
Right.
it an individualistic tool or a liberal tool or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I had a chip on my shoulder, but at the same time, and this is quite a strange, it's a strange dichotomy between sort of, I'm not going to, I wasn't a self-hating European diaspora, but there's a dichotomy between sort of criticizing, being hypercritical about your own culture, but then moving into new culture and wishing they were more liberal. And
Yeah.
that was, it's actually something I find a lot of people here who are foreigners who come to Japan, they like the food, they like certain sort of aesthetic elements of the culture, but then eventually they want all the same, and they'll complain about their home country, but then they want all the same laws, etc., to be passed, and all the same philosophies to sort of govern the Japan they live in. And it's very interesting. And I guess that would be an element. So a foreigner like myself coming to Japan, I think that me being welcomed by the government, possibly right now they're talking about giving passports and voting rights to foreigners, which I think is, I personally think is a bad idea. But that sort of thing is that's also a fractionating element where you bring in a foreign element, and that foreign element then naturally, it's just the way it works. Whenever I see another foreigner, we'll become friends instantly, even if we don't have a lot in common. It's very interesting. When we were in Korea, my wife and I both thought the same thing. When you're in Korea, we hung out with people that we knew we would never be friends with in Canada. But it just happened to be that we were kind of the foreign element. And so we were all kind of felt a little bit displaced by the culture that we're in. And so we ended up congregating. And, inevitably, and I look back on this sort of, I'm not happy about this, but we ended up just kind of criticizing the culture. And like, I've had a big mind change about that recently, maybe in the last 4 or 5 years. And we were definitely we were a fractionating element against, like, when we met a Korean, we were always trying to tell them, but this is wrong and this is wrong. And that's how it works.
Yeah, you're enforcing your culture on them. You're kind of because everyone suffers with this. I think is like wherever you're born and raised, that's the way you think. That's the right way.
Right.
So when you go somewhere else and they don't do it that way, you're like, nah, you guys got this all wrong. You're doing it wrong. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. Just part of being human. It's natural. Doesn't make it right, but it's normal.
Yeah. By the way, I was just looking at the chat. People are talking about slow-mo. What is slow-mo?
I noticed this earlier when I was typing in the chat. It says the slow-mo is on in the chat. So if you type something in the chat, it takes a little while for it to actually post.
Maybe I accidentally did that. I don't know if I can change that.
You might have put a setting on there or something by mistake. That
guys, if I did that, you gotta. Sorry about that.
You type and then you hit enter, and then like a clock starts before it'll actually post.
I'm gonna go into my YouTube thing and see if I can change that. I didn't even know what slow mode was. I just click every option if there is a slow mode. There is a slow mode. Enable slow mode. So I'm gonna hit save.
Yeah, turn that off.
I don't know if that'll save it. This is real time, guys.
I'm doing it. Boom, you're done. It's off.
I did it.
Excellent.
It's off. Boom. Hey.
Good. There you go. Look at that. Now you can type.
This is a reactive channel, man.
Boom. There you go.
Yeah. So hey, what else did you think about that Morgoth video? Like
the gamification stuff you talked about, I thought that was very, very interesting. And it really it's and they kind of proved it to be real when they did experiments, with what was a tribe? I forget what the tribe was. There was a tribe in I don't know, Africa maybe. And they did experiments, and they found that the gamification thing worked with them, like without them even thinking about it.
Right.
And to me, this is very sinister, very sinister. Whereas, because I've often thought that the people at the top of the hierarchy, at the top of the pyramid, if they even are people, Um, they they know our psychology inside out.
Yeah.
We're basically puppets
fair.
puppets
Yeah.
on a string, right? They know how to play us like, they can push a button and make us jump, and we don't even know that we're doing it, right? They
Mm.
know they know the modus operandi of the human mind,
Yeah.
and they can control vast swathes of people very,
Right.
very easily trivially.
Yeah.
So, and the gamification theory just plays into that beautifully.
Mm. I sigh because I can look I can you know what, I can look back through my past, through my present, and probably through my future, and just kind of watch how I am myself being manipulated in 1,000 ways.
Uh-huh.
And I can, there's some, after a certain amount of time, I've understood some techniques that are used to change what I'm thinking about, whether they want me to go this way or this way. I can
Sure.
there's, but not all of them. And then the brain that's in me that worries about this sort of thing, the brain that's in me, yeah, use that
The
next time we
brain
talk.
that's in me.
The brain that's within me
I think we got a
worries.
show title.
The brain that's within me. So yeah, the real high, what's it, what, high thinking.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the brain that's within me worries that then I'll start over worrying about everything. And there's some people that are, what do they call, like autistically focused on this and that, and that they can almost create a separate reality around them because they're so hyper focused on undercovering everything that they almost, maybe they do enter into a different reality. And I'm not like that, but at the same time, once you start to see certain plays for your thought or your religion or anything like that, it's like you said, it's like driving that car. You get that VW up, and then suddenly you see lots of ups on the road, and I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, whether we like it or not, we're immersed in mass manipulation every day of our lives.
Yeah.
Every day of our lives, our minds are being fucked with. The only difference between us and them is that we're aware of it. Most people are not. Most people have no clue that their thoughts and their opinions are somebody else's.
Right. Yeah. I had a friend back in, so I'm going back to the election 4 years ago topic.
Yeah.
I had a friend who was on the, like, I'm not a supporter of, like I said, either of the Hillary or the Donald groups necessarily, but he was talking we were just clashing, and he's like, where do you get your opinions from? And that's a really, listen, he's one of those people that was like, dude, you have to have more nuance when you think. And it's like, I have the problem with the term you have to have nuance, because the reason is this: everyone has nuance about things that they think about, I think. But when it comes to the opposite side, suddenly the nuance generally closes, and you have, now, not everyone is that way. I say everyone, that's kind of the wrong way to do it. But
say most people.
Most people.
Yeah.
I like to say everyone.
That's
most people,
what I would say. I've kind of trained myself to
right.
like, everyone. No.
Okay.
Most people. So that kind of covers it, because
okay,
it's not everyone, but most.
And
people.
maybe I should even clarify that most people I've encountered, or most examples I've seen, is most people have nuanced opinions about something that they believe to be right. Yeah. But when they encounter an opinion on the other side, I perceive it to be that nuance suddenly closes down, and when they shut down the argument from the other side.
Yeah, it's because they're emotionally involved, right?
Yeah, right.
When you have a very strong opinion about something, it's very difficult to have that strong opinion and not be emotionally connected to that opinion.
Right.
And once you're emotionally connected to it, anyone that presents an alternate or opinion to yours, you instinctively defend it.
Right.
Even if you're completely wrong.
Right. If I were to ask this question, this is a question I actually would like to ask you, because it doesn't directly sort of indict communalism or whatever and individualism, but it sort of brings up, it's an economic principle that I'm kind of mulling about. So let's say, well, we live in the modern world right now. So I'm in Japan, living in a like totally foreign house, living on basically a foreign street, foreign in terms of against the traditional norms. Like basically Japan is, except for a few buildings here and there, and as long as you don't look at the people, you could be, oh, that's part of Canada or something like that. It's basically how you would see it. Except for also the rice fields rather than the wheat fields. But so in that vein, if I was talking with someone earlier and I was like, I personally, I understand the economic argument that, if Japan wanted to be perfectly competitive today and wanted to be focused on the GDP and this and that, they need to obviously manufacture globally. They need to be able to export, import. They need to yada yada, and they need to have all these franchises from abroad, as well as work on sending Japanese franchises abroad. But at the same time, I was just looking at like a sort of a more specific example where, well, I guess we could stay on that. Like, we're here, and some people say that we're here, and that because we're in this time, and the results are that we all practice a very similar economic system, and we have a similar. So Japan has a diet system politically, which is based on the German and the English system, basically, plus with an American written constitution, etc. Of course, after the war, but they would argue, there's not most people, just some people I've talked with, that we are here because that is how it should have been, because history is basically rife with progress. So it's a story of progressing down a path that's going ultimately to a better form than what it was. So I would criticize, for instance, that Japan is becoming less Japanese and it's becoming more foreign.
Yeah.
But they would say, but how can you criticize that? Because now the Japanese have more disposable income than they used to. They can afford to go out to eat. They can, basically all the neoliberal arguments for progress through the forward march of the economy, the expansion of what's possible materially, etc. And I would just say, is it good? And they would say it's good because it's a break from the past, and there's more material stuff available at the moment, and people can enjoy more material goods.
Well, it just sparked a memory in me when you were talking about that. Was when in my late teens, early 20s, Arthur C. Clarke published a book called 3001. It was the third sequel to
wasn't this, wait, it was 2001, 2010,
2001, 2010,
then 2051,
265, and then 3001. Oh, no, actually, you know what? No, it might have been 2065 was the book I'm thinking about. Yeah, it might have been that one. And the story takes, I don't know how familiar you are with 2001: A Space Odyssey, but the two astronauts, Dave Bowman and Frank Poole, they're on the Discovery, and Hal, the computer, when Dave Bowman is outside doing extra vehicular, he's out there, and Hal in the pod knocks him away from the Discovery, and he's free floating in space. He's gone. Right. That's it. He's dead. So it might, no, you know what? It might have been 3001. Actually, I forget. It was one of them. But anyway, so what happens is it's set like in the future, and humans have colonized the solar system. And a ship right at the edge of the solar system picks up this tiny movement. And they zoom in, and it's Frank Poole from 2001, and he's in his spacesuit, floating along. He's dead, right? But he's in his spacesuit, and they bring him on board. And because technology's advanced so much, they're able to revive him and bring him back to life, essentially. And one of the things he notices in because 3001 is like 1,000 years past 2001, right? So 1,000 years in the future.
Do the maths, guys.
One of the things he notices is when he wakes up, because for him he's just been asleep, and it's the next day, right? 1,000 years have gone by, and he all of the humans that he's interacting with, he can't tell their race.
Right.
There's no white people, there's no black people, there's no Asian people.
Right.
They're all a kind of mishmash of all of them.
Right.
They've all kind of, so there's no distinct individual cultures or people. It's just all, human beings. And that was the thought that I had when you were talking. I'm sorry.
well, if you want to, I mean, so 2001, I think when I was 12, I started reading, I guess it was the first time I ever started reading science fiction. And the reason was because I thought I liked science fiction because I liked Star Wars. And of course, Star Wars is a space opera, etc. But there's some science fiction elements in it.
Sure.
And I did read the dramatizations and the novelizations of Star Wars. And pretty soon after that, I just love looking those, like, they used to have illustrated science fiction books with tiny blurbs of stories that were encapsulated, basically, like, this is the something ship attacking the something station, and the station has 2.5 meter thick walls, and it just blasted by this torpedo. But the art just captivated me. And in the same library in my school, they had Arthur C. Clarke, Asimov, and a few. Actually, they had some Star Wars, like Han Solo's
Revenge.
Yeah, Han Solo's Revenge, and 2 other books. And so, of course, I read every single science fiction book there, including the entire Star Trek first 2 or 3 series dramatizations in like a big novel
by
form.
James Blish.
I don't remember who wrote them, but I mean, I read all of them, and I loved it. So, but 2001 was one of my favorites. 2010 read it, 2050, whatever. I read all of them, but 3001 I haven't read, and it's coming up on 30 years, my friend.
I know, it's crazy, huh?
Yeah,
but time flies.
Like, I guess, so I mean, like, do you want to ask me if I'm a? You want to ask me if, like, I'm a? Are you Nathan? Nathan, are you going? Nathan, are you a right winger or a left winger?
Yeah, are you a right winger or a left winger, Nathan?
I tend to be a right winger, and in this perspective, I understand the idea of progress, certainly from a progressive standpoint, where there was a past and there's no such thing as an idealized past. But as a right winger, I look to the past to define the forms that I believe. Like, I don't believe a perfect idealized past, but I believe that the farther we go forward, the less we understand, and the less we have of an idealized self, and it all becomes sort of congealed. Now, again, from a progressive understanding of philosophy, economy, etc., I understand that the more you break down boundaries, and the more you can kind of create a unified whole by essentially getting rid of what we consider defining characteristics that break people into different categories, that it's better. And I do understand that perspective. Of course, I mean, you basically I would say you have to, because if you go through school, I mean, that's essentially what we're all taught. But my big change certainly was just watching. It could have been like 5 or 6 years ago. I was just watching some dramatizations in Japan. They have this channel which is just old not documentaries, but like soap operas, but set 300 years ago.
Okay.
In samurai Japan,
like, and period pieces, I guess.
Yeah, period. Thank you. Period pieces. And what amazed me by these was that the kids, the adults, and the old people all immediately gravitated to it, and they were all talking about, saying, "Wow, there's those beautiful, those buildings are so beautiful." And they were talking about the way the fire was set. They were talking, like, it became a show that was, we're watching it through a TV, like a TV that would not have existed when I was like a teenager, through speakers in the TV that sounded better than our home system. Like everything materially, we've progressed incredibly, but everyone is drawn. Most people, I got it here. Most people that I've watched it with were immediately drawn to the forms. They're just like, they love the aesthetic value of the samurai. They even, when some justice was meted out to a criminal, and by justice it was like slice and dice, right? It wasn't put them in jail. It wasn't have go on a long sort of judicial,
you take them out. Boom.
Take them out. It immediately was understood by my daughter. She's 5 now. She was 4, I guess, when she's seen that. Now, I'm talking about recently, but even back then, so it's like 5 or 6 years ago, before she existed in this world, just everyone understood it. And even though we're all, and I would say, I would be a liberal because I'm brought up, but my understanding of the world is liberal. But we all are watching this through a liberal lens. But each of us is understanding that's these people deserved what they got. This sort of vigilante, whether or not he was the shogun disguising himself as a commoner, or this love interest, everything was understood, and it wasn't. And the people in the room, all Japanese, they loved it. And then I started thinking about it and just kind of watching how people naturally look at and gravitate to things that they see from the past. And now there's various reactions, of course, but the sort of nature, I believe there's an innate nature within people.
Right. What you're describing is basically archetypes, right? And these things are universal. It's part of what it is to be human. These things speak to us at a very basic level, right? Defending the weak, punishing the evil, the wicked, fighting against them, the underdog, fighting a man against unsurmountable odds and triumphing. All of these tropes, these ideas, it's as if it's kind of ingrained in the human's psyche, because these ideas, it doesn't matter where you're from on Earth, what culture, it doesn't matter.
Right.
These things speak to us as a people, and on all of drama, everything is based on these tropes and these archetypes.
Right. Oh, the kind of like the man with the million faces or something like that. The argument where there's like the hero's journey is sort of common to all men. But I guess I would, again, as a right wing, I would conceptualize that each culture has its own innate understanding of the hero's journey, not only just as the hero themselves, but the sort of forms that they appreciate, and the ones that speak longingly to their souls, that they can sort of react to in a positive or negative way that's outside of the world they live in. So like if you stripped back 70 years of liberalism in Japan, what would the Japanese person be like? And would their understanding of the world be better or worse? And I think if you ask I ask those questions, and
what do you think then? Would it be better or worse?
Well, it's really complicated with Japan, because if you just strip back, the World War II, then what you get is you get a Japan that basically, for 70, the Meiji Restoration was basically a bastardization of the Japanese culture and a sudden influx of foreign culture, which, I mean, the Japanese are excellent at making things, so they suddenly were able to almost fully one-to-one copy beautiful English battleships, and in some ways make them better trains, etc. It was a sudden introduction into the Industrial Revolution. And no, what I would say is, so it's so complicated, because after that, then you have the rise of, I guess you could say, a fascist empire, good or bad, whatever you think about that. I can go both ways. And then you have, of course, World War II, and you have the colonization period, and good, some people like that, some people don't. Most people today, of course, don't. But then you have this sort of the 7 years after, And the way I would look at it is, what does the Japanese soul still, if you give them a little bit of space to think about, what do they still gravitate toward? And again, the period pieces, before there was a huge inundation of foreign ideas and foreign objects and foreign sort of ways of doing things,
But
there was,
isn't it romanticizing the past in many
of
ways?
course,
Though?
of course it is.
It's
Of course
making
it
it
is.
look like, I remember
Yeah,
those days.
yeah, but it's,
So
you know what?
wonderful.
But at the same time, the romanticization of the past is also one of the ways that people. Now we don't have oral stories. We don't gather around the fireplace anymore. None of us do that. When I say none, most people do not gather around the fireplace anymore, right? Or not the fireplace, but the fire outside. We don't do the things that our forebears did.
Telling stories,
and
right,
maybe they had to. Maybe they had to. Maybe they didn't. Maybe, there's. I think a lot of a lot of people think of the past as just kind of like this horrible, dark. They had to live in mud, that no one could turn on the lights when it was.
Right.
It's kind of it's a depressive. But if you think, like, whenever you go camping, you've gone camping.
I have.
Yes, I assume so. You sound like you've gone camping.
I have gone camping.
You've got that sort of gravelly voice in the background. It sounds like you've enjoyed some campfires yourself.
I have gone camping. Yes.
The man has gone camping. My voice doesn't have the camping sound.
But I think that I've lost my train of thought. I was going to say something very profound then, but it just popped out of my head. So
idealizing the past through campfires.
Sitting around the campfire, trading stories. I've lost what I was going to say. I hate it when that. Don't you hate it when that happens? You're about to say it's you're about to say it, and it's like later.
It's happened once to me already this stream, and last time I think about 2 or 3 times. By the way, I'm just going to add something that's probably derail the entire conversation. In 2018, I went to California. Didn't know you. Wish I would have known you back then. Went to California for a would have been great for a headphone event. It was called what was it called? Headfi is a huge website for people that like headphones. By the way, these used to be like top end headphones like 12, 13 years ago. Now they're just really comfortable. But I went there looking for clients for my photography business, as well as just going to cover the event. And I met I was just about to lose it. I met my cousin, and this is a cousin I hadn't met in decades. My family moved, so born in Sweden, raised in Sweden first, and then America, Canada, right? Married internationally, live in Japan, never see my parents, never see my extended family. I find that this is, I could, from a right-wing perspective, I could criticize this endlessly, but I don't want to go there because let's not go there.
I'm in the same boat. I mean, I don't see my family in the UK.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you'll agree it's a blessing and a curse, right? It's awesome and horrific at the exact same time.
You know what? At the moment, I'm more at the horrific aspect, because my parents they're rapidly approaching 80. We are going to get totally derailed here. We're rapidly approaching 80, and 80 people live past 80, of course. But
yeah,
if I go back to Canada, 2-week quarantine, and then 2-week quarantine on the way back, and let's say anything happened. I could miss, moments that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I met my cousin who I haven't seen for a long time, and we just recently started chatting again on Facebook, back when I had a Facebook account. And she's like, "Why don't you come over to my place? Beautiful place, somewhere in Northern California." And wow, beautiful. And she had a bunch of stuff that you're not allowed to smoke in Japan, or a lot of places. And we went to town, and the most amazing thing was we had conversations around some hours. And even if we went on some ramification this way, for some reason, we could always go back to the center and then branch out again. But that's the only time in my life where I've had that. And I'm not going to say that stuff that you can inhale and smoke is good, but if you're constantly ramifying in your conversation and can't get back to the central part, it's helped me.
100% legal here in California right now.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm just because I'm
when you're driving on the freeway, there's even billboards advertising it. I mean, serious. There's billboards advertising weed.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm sort of pro weed or anti weed in the general sense, but for that conversation, and I think I had smoked more than I'd ever smoked in my life. I'm not really into. I don't have tattoos. I don't. The only thing is I drink a little bit. And I eat a little bit of fat. Probably shouldn't do that. But or eat sweet stuff. Shouldn't do that. So my vices.
Can I just tell you something though, real quick? Newsflash.
Yes.
Healthy people die too. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I'm not worried about. Yeah. Right. I'm just trying to think of my sort of like I'm just trying to count my vices at the moment. Like I said, I'm a right winger, so I'm the way that the modern right, and when I mean right, I don't mean like the liberal right. I mean the more primordial right is the way I would say, or some people call it the dissident right. But a lot of us are just trying to look at our vices because in the 90s everything was vice. It was like, yeah, basically accept anything and just do whatever you want to your body, and that was cool. Like the more degenerate you could be, almost the better. At least in my school, when I was 90s, I was 11 to 20 roughly, I think. So that's my age range, and yeah, the more degenerate the better, certainly in the middle of the decade.
So I've always said that the 90s was the last great decade for music.
Yeah, there was some good music there, man.
Once we got out of the 90s, there was like a steady decline into shit.
It's all this, not all the same. There's some sort of like 90s hang-ons in the early 2000s, and I like a lot of electronic music, and there was some good electronic music.
Well, I mean, decades rarely end.
Right.
At the
No,
yeah, supposed to. They always keep going for
right at the cutoff. Yeah.
The 90s didn't end in 2000. The 90s ended around 2003, 2004 is when it ended for real. It always spills over just a little bit, You
know what I just realized? Like 4 hours into our conversation. Oh, hey, cheers. I just have. Cheers. I think someone commented on it. This looks like cheers. By the way, this is just a bit of bourbon with used to have rocks in it. Oh, there's still a couple of rocks here.
A couple of rocks.
And I'm eating it out of or drinking it out of a, what is it called? A jar? Yes.
A
jar. A mason jar. My sister knows that I drink out of these things, and she's like, you're so trendy, and I'm like,
yeah.
I guess I didn't even. Well, whatever. I guess I am.
They're all the rage now.
They're all the rage.
Mason jar.
But we're talking music. Oh, so yeah. So this is 4 hours after. By the way, thank you again for coming, and all you guys for watching. But like 4 hours into our conversation, the reason why, and I can't remember if we covered this so much. Like I said, the ramifications are incredible, and I can't remember how we got what we covered last time exactly. But between you and I, at least. But the reason why you and I are connected is through Minidisc.
Yes.
But we never talked about your music preferences, I think, last time.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't we completely derail this thing?
Sure, we can do that. I'm all over the map, man. I like all kinds of music. I love rock. I love movie soundtracks. I love ambient music. I love folk music, folk rock. I'm a really huge Beatles fan. I collect vinyl. I've got hundreds of albums on vinyl.
Let me make your screen bigger. So look behind you. Is that you can't do that with this screen?
No.
Is that these are vinyl records?
These are all Blu-rays and DVDs.
Okay, there we are.
Boxes over there.
Right.
Yeah, I do have. I can show you this one. I got, if I can get it out of here. Come on, get out of there. I have this. The Beatles in mono. The box set.
The mono thing comes back.
Mono. And I dubbed this entire box set onto like 3 or 4 mini discs in I recorded it in mono, obviously. So on a mono disc, you can get like 4 or 5 albums on one disc, just in mono.
Yeah.
And because these are in mono, it's perfect, right?
Yeah. Look, all right, there we are. And if Stefano really is listening, mono, we need mono from WebMD, man. Hook it up.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, I like all kinds of stuff.
First album. What was your first album? Do you remember it?
The first album I ever got, or was ever, or bought myself.
First album you bought yourself.
Oh shit, that's tough. I remember the first single I bought.
Go ahead with that.
I remember that distinctly. I was with my mother, and I had some money for it was either a birthday or Christmas or something. I had some money, and it was burning a hole in my pocket. And I had to buy something, and we were in a it wasn't a soul. It was a place in the UK. There used to be a chain of stores called John Menzies,
right?
And it would be like a news agent, and then downstairs they'd have like a little record store. And I went down there, and I bought a single. I bought Blondie, Heart of Glass on 45.
45. Those are RPMs, I believe.
RPM, yeah, that was my first one.
Huh.
That I bought myself.
Well,
but there was a time when I was like 14 or 15, I would I'd save all my money and I'd buy an album a week. Every Saturday I'd go and I'd buy a record. And I still have all my vinyl. I didn't when CDs came out and everyone switched to CDs, people were like tossing their records away and switching to CD.
Bad idea.
I did switch to CD, but I kept my records, and I'm glad I did, because now it's like we were talking about nostalgia and all that stuff, all these emotions that are tied to these physical objects, and it's great to thumb through and find, oh my gosh, look at that, I haven't listened to this since I was 12, and you can put it on play, and it sounds phenomenal.
Yeah. By the way, we have a violent guy in the chat called Punches Couches. And he said his first album ever was Weird Al Running with Scissors. I don't know which songs are on that, but I actually went to a Weird Al concert.
Did you really?
Yeah, 1998 or 9, I can't remember, maybe 7. This was in Canada. There's a place called Canada's Wonderland, which is the largest theme park. It used to be Paramount who owned it, and he put on a show underneath this little amphitheater thing there. And I think it was the first or second concert I'd ever gone to, and I didn't really know him. My friend who I later went to Depeche Mode with took me there, and it was good. It was good, but I wasn't familiar with. And he was listen, I should have boned up on Weird Al before I went, but I came back kind of like, I can't remember at that time. It was like there was an Amish Paradise.
Yeah. Amish Paradise. I remember that.
Amish Paradise, man.
Yeah. So what was your first maybe not record, but CD you bought?
It wasn't, first CD.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my first one that I ever bought was a cassette tape, and that was Hotel California by the Beatles. Yeah, I know. It's so typical of a person that thinks they're an audiophile. If you go to an audiophile meeting, everyone's, at least in Japan, they're playing like 3 different albums, 400 like booths, and they're all playing. Here, listen to Hotel California from our speakers. And it's not just Hotel California, the album. It's not like 2 Maids in a Row or whatever. I can't remember. It's not New Town. It's not that. It's always Hotel California, the song. So that was my first.
Different mixes, different versions, different vinyl pressing.
I still like that album a lot, and I know that
record. Yeah, it is awesome.
Really, I know a lot of, like, most of my friends when I grew up were about 10 years older than me, so they were well within Generation X, and I believe that Hotel California would be like, that would be young boomer music, and old Xers. But at the same time, when I talk with some of my 10 to 20-year older friends, they're like, the Eagles were kind of like Britney Spears of the day. And I don't know if that's true, but they're like, man, I was into Creedence Clearwater, and listen, I still like the Eagles, but
Well, me too. I mean, all the music that we're talking about, even though it is, 40, 50, 60 years old,
yeah,
it's timeless, right?
right,
It's
right.
timeless. I mean, I had a moment in the mid '90s. I was in a record store, and I say
Mm,
records. They weren't selling records in the mid '90s. It was all CDs. They have rows and rows, thousands of rows of all these CDs. And I was in there, and I saw some kids who were like maybe 12 or 13
yeah.
buying CDs, and they were buying Beatle albums,
Mm.
and they were like, "Oh, look, this has got this. This is the track where John sings harmony for Paul. Oh yeah, yeah, and that's the one where George plays the
Yeah,
bass,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and these are like 12-year-old kids
Mm,
talking about music
yeah.
that's that was recorded 40 years before they were even born.
Is there is there is there
Do
a
you know what I
right
mean?
wing is there a right wing argument there for
Well, no,
timelessness?
well, because I mean,
Yeah,
and I've always thought,
yeah,
just like with all kinds of with movies
yeah,
and music, a good movie is a good movie is a good movie,
right.
whether it was filmed yesterday or 100 years ago.
Yeah,
If it's good, it's good,
right, right,
right? And it's the same with music, right?
right.
Whether if it was recorded last week or 70 years ago,
Yeah.
if it's a great piece of music, it's a great piece of music. Period.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's timeless.
I agree from right wing perspective.
Yeah, it's never ending. It just goes on.
Did you check out any more Morgoth videos? Or
I
I mean,
I did not. I watched the one that I watched it this afternoon, um, but I just
I
watched
did
that
too. I
one.
watched it again, and
Uh-huh.
while I realized that we were like slightly running late or whatever, I was watching it. I was about 10 minutes in, halfway
Well,
through. By the way, it's
how
hmm.
did you discover Morgoth?
Back when before YouTube purged, everyone had an opinion that was slightly outside of the norm.
Uh-huh.
And that's not fair. Not everyone. Don't never say never, never say every.
Mhm.
This is the bourbon's just kicking in just slightly. Never say everyone. Say most,
Most,
but
yeah,
because
most
there
people.
there are definitely some opinions that are outside of the norm, and I'm not going to say the center, but the norm.
Uh-huh.
Like for instance, Matt McKinley's from Quantum of Conscious. Now, there's some people that think he's part of the system. There's some people that think that he's separate to the system, but he's still there. But that is also that's almost indicting itself. I do tech, so whatever.
Mhm.
Like obviously I'm there. But like so back when the YouTube had a little bit more variety, I think I was did you ever follow the skeptic sphere?
Was that a channel, or are you talking about
No, okay. Okay,
in
well,
general?
it's good you didn't. Okay, so the skeptic sphere was a bunch of, I will call it, looking back, a bunch of blowhards that thought they knew better than everyone
Well,
ever.
you just described most skeptics right there. You know,
Okay.
you know what I mean? That's their deal.
Okay,
It's
well,
we're
yeah, it
right.
was kind
We're
of
right. You're wrong. We're smart. You're stupid. That's
right.
pretty much their vibe.
Okay, well, for a while, I think about a year or two. How do I describe? There's a long story. I'm going to ramify here.
Uh-huh.
Not going to put a pin anywhere, but I'm going to ramify. I think it was when I first started my business, my photography
Mhm.
business, and I was starting to make decent money and having to do a lot of editing. In the background, I like to listen to stuff, and at first, I started
Okay.
listening to uh, Lost, the drama series, without watching. You can't do Photoshop whilst
The
you're watching.
movie?
Lost,
I
the
mean, the TV
drama
show?
series, yeah, the TV show. So I was listening to it,
Uh-huh.
or I was listening to like highlights from it. I'd never seen it. This is in 2012 or 2012 or
Wow.
13 or 14. I can't remember when.
Can I
But
just say something about Lost really quick?
yes, sir.
The first 3 seasons of Lost is probably one of the greatest pieces of television ever made.
I agree if you say the first one or
3.
half.
The
Yeah,
first 3 seasons are
yeah.
a 10,
Very good. Very
a
good.
fucking
Very good.
10. after the first 3 seasons, it nosedives pretty quickly.
The final one just like I finished it, but I didn't even know why I finished it.
Yeah, it gets pretty stupid
Got very
pretty
yeah,
quick. But
yeah,
that
yeah.
season 1, 2, and 3 were like,
We're very
oh
good,
my,
very good.
amazing.
When they mentioned the others, I think it was at the end of the first series, I was like,
Yeah, the others.
man,
It was like
good
I
stuff.
was fucking glued. I was like, it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it was such a kick in the balls when it really got so fucking stupid so fast.
Well,
You know?
so I was part of back when Lost was out. I didn't want to watch it. So like I said, I started watching it in 12, 13, 14, I don't remember.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't start. There was a YouTube channel that had like all the best moments of Lost, and so
Right.
it was just. And I didn't watch. There was no. There probably were some spoilers, but it was so
Oh, yeah.
much stuff I couldn't tell what was spoiled or not. And it was like the best quips of this character, that, and I was like, it actually sounds pretty interesting. So then on iTunes, I got Lost. Probably should rewatch it sometime.
Yeah.
And so I binged it. And originally, I was listening to it in the background whilst I was editing photographs.
Mhm.
And wow. And then my wife and I watched it together, and I loved it. But when I ran out of Lost, I was like, it's too hard to listen to something in the background and not see, because you're going to miss things, you know?
Right,
And
right.
so I started listening to YouTube channels, when talking heads like you and myself
Mhm.
right now, there's nothing to see, right?
Yeah,
You can put
yeah.
it on the background. You can do other
Sure.
stuff. You can do woodworking. You can do photography. You can do weeding,
Totally.
which I need to do. Japan, by the way, is like a jungle. If you let it for a moment, it just there's a lot of rain, etc. But like you can do anything and listen to something, right? And even back then, YouTube, you could turn off the screen of your phone and it would still play in the background. They removed that functionality about 3 or 4 years ago. And now you have to subscribe with RedTube, or not RedTube, Red YouTube Red or something like that. You have to subscribe Red YouTube.
Not RedTube.
Not RedTube. Okay, YouTube Red. The one you.
RedTube was a porn site.
That's right. I was screwing something. Okay, talking about porn now. I'm screwing something. No, Red YouTube. If you subscribe to that, you can turn off your screen and still listen to it in the background. But otherwise, you have to keep your screen on, and your phone just was gone an hour.
Yeah.
So anyway, I started listening to various people, and the skeptics at that time, I think it was like post the death of Christopher Hitchens. And you listen, I most of my life I come to ideas pretty late, probably. And I was listening to the skeptics, and they had a lot of good criticisms of progress, I thought, in general, and they were criticizing woke culture, and I was coming around to the fact that there's something messed up here, right? That endless criticizing of something that existed prior is bad, but these guys were coming from a modern perspective, criticizing something modern, and I was like, okay, it's kind of like it's like the better way of criticizing. But eventually, I found that their arguments, for instance, on I don't want to get onto this. We're not going to get on this, but I'll say on immigration. On immigration, were wrong. They were not. Let's say wrong. They were too facile, and so
what was their point of view on immigration? That it was great.
As long as it's legal, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how many people come in, as long as
that was their thing. As long as they don't want anyone hopping the fence.
Right. If they're hot,
if you fill out the paperwork, you're good.
Yeah. Right. So I don't want to get onto that. If you ever want to do like a bit shoot exclusive or something, I would happily. But like basically, and I felt something wrong with that. I was just coming around to the fact that my own position in Japan and how Japan had changed. Listen, whatever. I'm a right winger, so whatever. And I'm not like a Trump right wing. I'm like a anyway. Let's not get there. But the point is that at the time there were various other people that were criticizing culture, but they weren't doing it from a modern perspective. They were doing it from either they were bringing up Evola, they were bringing up Schopenhauer, they were bringing up these like people from the past. And at the time I was getting into Plato, and I was reading Nietzsche. I haven't read a lot, but I think next to a regular modern person, I've read more than a regular modern person. But next to a person that reads, I haven't read a lot. But I started to
don't sell yourself short. If you're reading Nietzsche and you're not in school somewhere, that's huge. That's seriously, that's huge.
Well, I don't know if it's
If you're reading that for fun or just to better yourself, to understand stuff. But you know what I mean? Like most people, the only time they're gonna read that shit is if they're in a classroom and they got a test on it.
okay. Well, I have no idea. Like I had until like I'm 40. I'll be 42 this year. The first time I'd ever read anything of what I would call note from the English canon, or well, I mean Nietzsche wasn't originally writing in English, but from that canon, from the Western canon, is like in my 30s. So I came to this real late. Although I did do an English literature degree. It's pointless. Completely pointless. But I did that, and so we read some good things like Milton's Paradise Lost. I suppose it's pretty decent. We did a whole semester on it. But like anyway, at that time in YouTube, there were opinions allowed that were all over the place,
right?
Whether they're conspiratorial or whether they're more primordial, etc. And Morgoth, I believe he's still on YouTube. I believe he's one of the few primordial right wingers that's still on YouTube. Most of them have been kicked off. Like every week, you can basically like say goodbye to another person that you subscribe to. But I found him through. Let's see here. I think I was. By the way, do you know that there's a Canadian gentleman by the name of Jordan Peterson?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I listened to him in 2016, and I really kind of liked how he approached the Bible. In terms of like from
he has a series of lectures on the Bible, I believe. Yeah.
Right, and from that I discovered another gentleman by the name of Jonathan Pajot, who is an icon carver. Now I was interested in that because the history of my family has a lot to do with woodworking. Now I haven't really done anything with that except for now. I'm trying to get back into that, but I find that interesting. He was taking Orthodox theology and he was actually making a life out of carving icons for churches. Oh, wow. And those would be icons that I don't know where they would display them. I'm not Orthodox. I don't know how that works. But from there, I found a Catholic YouTuber by the name of The Distributist. And he was discussing an argument between a skeptic by the name of Sargon of Akkad versus this person named Christy Winters and one other person, and he was critiquing their long stream, which was a debate. And he was saying, this is the reason why Sargon lost. And I felt that he did a very poor job in this interview. And but I didn't know, I didn't have the words to describe it. And Distributive brought it up. He's like, narratives always trump logical arguments. And I was like, it's kind of simple. But the more I thought about it, the more that sounded or worked in reality. It just seemed right. The way people act is it's more feelings over facts in general.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely, 100%.
Right.
And in many ways, narratives are reality.
Oh gosh, we could go forever on this thing.
Right, because a narrative defines how we perceive reality. And whoever controls the narrative controls reality.
Right. There was another part of that video, by the way, right at the end. There was something talking about the COOF.
The COOF.
About they were talking about the NHS and how. Back to Morgoth, by the way. Yeah, Morgoth I discovered through the long ramification trail from the skeptics to the distributist to Morgoth. Yeah, eventually I found the guy by the name of Morgoth, right? Yeah.
I thought he had I'm going to make a stupid joke here. He had a Gothic channel and he didn't have any subscribers, so he said, I need more goth.
Oh,
Dad!
Polish knee slapper.
Yeah.
Wait, what did I do right? That was good. Actually, that was
more goth.
That was good. I kind of miss goths. I don't know if the goths, the gothic like 1990s gothic thing was before or after your sexual awakening or whatever. But when I was in my teens, there was something very appealing about women wearing that sort of goth.
That kind of black lacy thing.
Yeah, I did like that certainly as a 15, 16, 17-year-old. Yeah. But I liked anything.
On the Mindset podcast, Niall Murphy, who comes on the show every once in a while, He was the lead singer of a goth band called Nosferatu in the 90s. So he's an ex-goth.
Ex-goth.
An ex-goth. Yeah.
Does he part his hair? Like, what does an ex-goth look like in general?
I don't know, just like a regular person, but with long hair, I guess, and they don't wear all the weird shit and put the white stuff on their face. I guess.
I've only listened to Mindset, so like I've never met Niles in real life, or Niall, but Niles.
Niall.
But I didn't picture him. I didn't even think of his hair.
Yeah, he's got his own channel. Actually, he's got a YouTube channel, the Mr. Niall Murphy Opaque Lens.
Opaque Lens.
That's his handle.
Give me the link later on. We'll
check it out.
Up too, and see if he's one of the
and
few.
What's crazy about Niall too is that he is extremely prolific. He does a video a day.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
how does he do that?
It's fucking mind blowing. I tell him, I say, dude, how the fuck can you pull a video? You must be out of your mind. How do you do that?
Must be out of mindset.
What he does is that he'll record on one day. He'll do like 3 or 4 topics.
Yeah,
and then those, there'll be one Monday, Tuesday. So it's not like he's doing a video every. Right. He publishes a video every day, but he's not recording a video every day.
Right.
Yeah, pretty good.
2 weeks ago when I did that Tascam handling thing for you.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much for that, by the way. That was very cool.
It's all your questions now, but that one, and I think the day before I did one other video that tuckered me out, and those were low quality videos. So like,
it's hard work, man. If you're going to be prolific on YouTube, that's no joke. That's a lot of fucking work. It really is.
When I found out that it was you that was asking me that question, and that was probably like, you asked me the question, like, how's the task? What do you think? How would you review the Tascam DR100 Mark III? There was that comment I got maybe 6 months ago or whatever. I was like, I got to get around to that. And what I discovered about, and this is, I guess, the name of the channel does not belie anything. Basically, it describes how invested I am in tech.
Yeah.
I'm so, I don't want to go all the way, but there's certain narratives that I love. The thing is that to put out a video is so much. It's just recording a video is fine, but then editing it.
Yeah.
I hate editing it. And then there's what I think I got to do, and what I should do, and how I don't get to it. And you know what? I'm finding that
for me, it's the worst. It's the reverse. Yeah. I hate filming. I hate it.
Yeah.
But I love the editing part. I enjoy the editing, but the filming part, I fucking hate it.
What about the filming is it that you don't like?
It's just a pain in the ass. Because it is. It's like, well, did I? And when I'm editing, it's cool. And I'm like, oh, I should have got that shot. Oh, fuck, I should have filmed it. I should have done this. I should have done that. And I had a million opportunities to do these things, but just didn't think of them at the time. And it's a pain in the ass.
Well, that's when what you do is, if you find this one scene that you used before, you just reverse the footage, and then you
reuse it.
It doesn't make sense to the context of the video at that time, but I do see a problem with it. Like, looking back at a lot of my videos,
and speaking of narrative, when you're filming, you before you start filming, you have to have you have to have the beginning bit already in your head.
Yes.
And then get the shots that you need to make that narrative. When you're editing, you put it together.
Yes.
And that's a challenge for me sometimes, because when you go to some place and you're going to film, it's it's difficult to think how it's going to play out.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's I'm not a YouTuber in the fact that I get money enough to pay rent. But I have done YouTube now for I've got a channel with 3.1.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at you got a really healthy, you got over 3,000 subscribers. That's awesome.
But for 4 years, like, there's I know a lot of people in my sphere, in the tech sphere. I think people that really want to take it somewhere can go way farther. And a lot of the people that started, they're a little bit above me. Let's say like in 2017, they had 5,000. No, 18, they had like 5,000 subscribers. They now have 30,000. And I think I think it's obvious. I think my my audience are like, this guy doesn't want to go all the way. He doesn't really want to start shouting about or really start loving, really loving certain tech things. And that's how it is. That's exactly how it is. I understand my the title for my podcast is, I think, perfect, because I'm not really otaku. I understand. I know a lot of otaku people. I have a lot of otaku friends that really like to collect, and they can tell me everything about this crazy thing they have, whether it's Gandalf, like the matchstick, the Gandalf. I got a friend. He showed up last time. And he's got like a whole bunch of Mario stuff, and they've got the guy across the street who's video game like otaku. Otaku is like geek. Geek in the former sense, not in the modern sense. It's like, oh, I like video games. No, but like the geek,
it's their life. They live and breathe it.
Yeah. But even beyond that, like because the modern, I think a lot of people call themselves geeks now, and it's more accepted. The whole geek culture is a little bit more accepted. Maybe I don't know if it's popular or not, but back in the day, people that called themselves geeks or accepted the label or used it among other geeks were also a little bit socially ostracized, I would say.
Oh yeah, I mean, that goes without saying. You're socially awkward, you know.
Hey, did you see the latest episode of Star Trek? Did you see the scene where Mr. Worf fired the phaser and it bounced off the hull? Wasn't that amazing? I did some research on that, and I found out that the tachyon stream from the beam, it's not as intense when it hits the photon shield.
Gosh, I haven't seen you.
It's you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing, right?
You don't find people quite so socially awkward who are geeks today. I think it's a little bit more mainstream. But anyway, even if it's mainstream, I think compared to just a regular geek in any field, I do have some knowledge in terms of like audio testing, etc. That puts me beyond the regular geek in some ways for the audio world. But when it comes to anything else, I just happen to like a certain, like with cameras, a certain draw style, a certain functionality.
I think,
but I'm not all the way there. Yeah,
I think that, and I'm speaking, you know, as I mean, I only have like 760 something subscribers to my channel. But I think that the key to growing your channel and getting lots and lots of people to subscribe is if you make your channel very niche and very focused. Like in your case, if all you did,
this is life advice, guys.
If all you did was mini discs, nothing else, just mini discs up the ass.
Yeah.
I think your channel would rapidly.
You're the second person to say that.
Skyrocket.
I have
because two things, right? Number one, you know what the fuck you're talking about, and the mini disc videos that you have made are very good, like legit good.
I'm gonna write.
You know what I mean?
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah. You know what? The second person, the guy that, by the way, let me see if I got it in my drawer. If I don't, then I probably own this guy in ZR55.
And one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Like what we're doing right now, and don't get me wrong, it's great talking to you. I'm having a blast. It's so much fun. Yeah. What we're doing right now is not conducive to your channel growing.
I agree.
Now, if we were doing this right now and all we were talking about was 100% pure mini disc, yes,
this would be it.
That would be it.
Now, the reason, okay. All, by the way, everyone, all good advice. Completely agree, 100%. No Fauxtaku, like literally, like full otaku belief in what you're saying. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. I am completely on board with that 100%. The reason, now here's the the reason why Mr. If you're English, you say Davis. If you're American or Canadian, say Davies. The reason why Mr. Davies is here is because he is into mini disc. Yes, He's commented multiple times on my minister videos and obviously given thought to criticisms and knows his stuff. But he also has this podcast called Mindset Central, as well as his Twitter account, which ends up covering things that, yes, are completely ancillary to anything that I should talk about on this channel.
Yeah.
However, yes, I agree with you, and yet,
yeah. I mean, if you really want to, make your channel into something, you have to really focus on whatever subject it. In other words, you know what? If I was, let's imagine I had a channel on painting.
Yeah.
And I was an artist.
Yeah.
I'd make a video and I say, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This week I'm going to draw a dove," and then it cuts to the canvas, and I'm now let me get the wings, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is fucking great." And then my next video is, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to rebuild the transmission on my car."
They'd be like, "What are you doing?"
Exactly. So then your channel is fucked.
And that that could be, but here, okay, let's say so the guy who understands all this called his channel Fauxtaku Lounge, realized that he's nowhere 100% involved. He could reform it. Okay, here, I agree, and I've got probably almost 100 units to talk about. Almost 100 units to talk about, mini disc, and I've got. By the way, here, let's just talk about some for a second.
Oh, look at that one.
This is the MZ 920.
That's a Sony, right? Is that a Sony? It's a Sony.
It's the last generation recorder before they did. Actually, I think they released this after they released a high MD, but it's the last MDLP recorder that they did. It's also a downloader. If you open that bad boy there,
yep, you got the USB on there. Boom.
There's the USB.
Yep. Awesome.
By the way, it's a USB Mini rather than that horrible one. Look at that.
Yep.
Let me just show you the MZH one. For some reason, like that's a USB thing that they use.
This one here has the same. If I can pull it, hang on. Fuck. There you go. Like the little same thing right there.
Okay, yeah, there we are. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's some quality stuff. That's the 710.
The 710, yeah. This is a great little workhorse of a recorder.
It's got the racing stripe too. I like that.
Yeah, right here. And it came in black, silver, and gold. I mean, black, silver, and blue. What am I talking about? There's a black version, a silver version, and a blue version.
Yeah. Good looking unit. Good looking unit.
It is a good one.
All right.
I got this one too. This one. Oh, this is a kind of shit. It's a kind of shitty, cheap piece of garbage. but if you're just gonna do like the Net MD and just transfer shit onto it, it's great.
Don't actually put poo-poo into your USB drive.
No. But it doesn't even have. You can't even put one of the. All it has is a headphone jack. Look at that.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Just a headphone.
Yeah. Well, if I was ready, I would bring over. I would show you a Sharp unit that was basically just like that, but didn't even have the USB input. All right. Yeah. So I agree with you completely. I can totally. So here.
Yeah.
It's too late. But I'll warp this exact episode into this topic. All right. So you and me like the mini disc format.
Yeah.
All right. And as time goes on, I see it as a right winger. As a right winger, I see things draw from what I consider an not idealized, but a more ideal past, where you can take not CD quality, but to your ear, basically CD quality music on the go that doesn't show, like we talked about last time, doesn't show to iTunes or Apple or anyone else your play count, what you listen to, etc. Goes from that to everybody listening to their music through. Now, this is of course me showing this. You're like, why is that? That's ancient. To an iPhone or to a Google. And there's not even phones anymore. There's not the Blackberries. There used to be, let's say, 7, 8 different competing platforms. And now, basically, as far as I understand it, 2.
It's the iOS and Android. That's it. Boom.
And the number of people listening to music on the go is probably declining as people start to listen more to podcasts And if they're listening to music, well,
I don't know. I mean, it's all streaming. Everything is streaming.
probably. So I'm probably safe still.
Nobody's well, I wouldn't say. See, I'm doing it now. Most people do not download music to their devices anymore.
Right. There's a lot of
you just hit the Spotify icon and away you go. You're streaming, right?
Okay, let's go with streaming then. So you don't have the music on your device; you're streaming through some sort of data system, right?
Yeah.
You don't have the music that you either own or otherwise obtained or whatever on some sort of
disc,
proprietary disc or open source disc or whatever that you can then share with somebody. It's all gone through some sort of gate keeping system.
Yeah.
You can call it progress. You can call it progress because we got here, and this is what you could say the market wanted it because we're here, and that's where we are. At the same time, as a right winger, I would. I'm not gonna say it's ideal because I don't even know about the whole idea of you carrying music that's only just for you in your pocket. If that's a great thing, you know. In 1,000 years, they'll be like, "This is the downfall of civilization." They'll be like, when those people started putting music in their pocket and putting earphones, that was it. You never know. But at the same time, in an idealized past from a modern right-wing perspective, which is ridiculous in itself, I gotta say that the move toward all streaming and everything being through a data plan basically puts all of your opinions, as we talked about before, basically are filtered through some sort of third party, and I don't see a benefit to that in any sense at all. Now, maybe and plus it's Spotify for everyone around the world.
The benefit is that it's super convenient, and you can listen to anything you want, anytime you want.
It's true. Is it necessary? Again, here's a right wing. Is it necessary that we always have everything we want and need right at our fingertips?
I don't know. That's a tough question to ask.
I mean, that would be my again from a right wing perspective. I would say that maybe that itself in 1,000 years, if there's a world to critique in 1,000 years, would be like that we have basically everyone has their opinions. Some opinions you haven't discovered because there's no way that a human being in their entire lives can discover everything they might like or might hate, right? Or might not like, sorry. But we have so much different stuff, too much information, as Duran Duran, as a Duran Duran song goes, always at our fingertips. And so it's hard to, we have to have opinions on every single thing. And I shouldn't say we, and I shouldn't say have to, but I'm going to go to the extremes here, because I think more than ever, there's so many ideas that we have to have. People expect you to have an idea about this or a criticism of this and that.
You have to, the society we live in right now is that you have to have an opinion on any subject. Anything.
Right.
Like if they were to say, so Nathan, what do you think about this? What's your opinion? And if you were to say, I don't know, I don't have an opinion. They're like, what?
Have you ever pretended before? You're like,
what the fuck is wrong with you? You should have an opinion on this shit. You know?
Yep. Oh, I hate that thing with my hat.
Like what I've done many times, and like I remember a few years ago, someone asked me, he said, well, what do you think about gay rights? And I said, I don't.
Yeah, there we are.
I don't think about it.
Yeah.
At all. I don't care.
Right. Yeah.
You know? That's shocking to people.
You know, it is. It's true.
I don't think about it. You know? Well, what do you think? What do you think about fucking Alzheimer's disease? I don't. I don't think about it.
Yeah.
Now, if I was to get Alzheimer's, that would suddenly be the top 5 things in my fucking head.
It would be like
thinking about.
Volkswagen Up, you'd see it all everywhere.
Right? I mean, do you honestly think Michael J. Fox would give a rat's ass about fucking Alzheimer's if he didn't have it?
Is it Alzheimer's or is it
or Parkinson's or one of those
I don't
dopey
actually know the
diseases.
difference between the two. I don't know.
But like, I mean, seriously, he's
Yeah.
out there doing fundraisers, raising money, campaigning against it.
Right.
If he didn't have it, do you honestly think he would give a fuck about that dopey disease? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, of course not.
I don't think he'd give a shit.
We're about to round it back. We're about to circle the wagons here. We're about to circle the wagons because we started talking about like what is it called? Identity politics. I think you brought that up early on. And identity politics is based around your experience. And so as a mini disc user, my identity politics, I like listening to my music that no one's going to know about it.
Yeah.
Also, I like to be able to touch this. I like to be able.
I mean, dude, I'm in the same boat, dude. Look at this. I got fucking Blu-rays, like a mental case here. I love physical, you know what I mean? I mean,
you can borrow it. You can send it to somebody.
I could fire up fucking Netflix and stream this shit all day. Yeah. But it's not the same as owning it. It's just mine. I
Explain the smell of a. Do they still have like little slips in with all the?
They do.
All right. Explain the smell of a brand new open Blu-ray.
It's one of the most wonderful aromas the olfactory senses could ever stumble upon.
Indeed.
It is. I mean, I like books too. I like physical books.
Yeah.
And when you buy like a coffee table book with beautiful artwork or whatever, and you crack it open, it's almost instinctual to smell the paper because it smells so fucking good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
That aroma, that physicality of actually holding it, and it's part of the whole thing. I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but it's true.
Well, of course it's true. What about used bookshops? What do you think about them?
I think they're great.
Do you? I'm sorry. From an olfactory perspective, what do you think?
Oh, the smell when you walk that musty kind of smell. Yeah. It's it's great.
It's amazing. I'm gonna describe. By the way, have you read Starship Troopers? Robert Heinlein?
I have not, but I was in the movie.
Okay, so I saw the movie when it came out, 1999, 8, whenever it was, and I thought
you didn't see me.
You're in it.
Yeah.
Gotta watch the movie again. Which scene?
I'm only an extra. It's not like I'm in the fucking movie.
You just said that.
That's right. I know. Well, no, but I'm not like, sir, here are the orders. I'm not like, I'm just in the crowd.
Yeah.
This was in the mid 90s when they were making it. There was a news ad that came out in a newspaper looking for extras for a movie, and I was like, well, I'm free for the next couple of days. I'll go check that shit out. So I went over and they were filming at the Long Beach State in Southern California.
Yeah.
And they were filming the scene. Remember the football scene where they're playing football?
Yeah. That's in the beginning, the training.
In the beginning, and they were filming that, and I was in the crowd, waving the pom poms and shit in the crowd of Starship Troopers.
So what? If you're an extra in that film, for sure you know what minute and second you're.
No, I have done slow-mo and freeze frame and you name it, and you cannot see me. but I was there. I was there.
All right. All right.
Yeah. So
so have you seen the film as well? Probably.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
How many times?
Oh, I don't know, a couple of times, 3 or 4 times, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you haven't read the book. Okay, so I've seen the film twice, and I really should watch it again because the book. By the way, I lent the book to a friend.
Gone
in 2011.
Bye.
I haven't seen it since then.
Yeah.
But I lent the book to a friend back in Toronto. We had gone back just for a couple of months or a month or so, and we stayed at my friend's house. And when we first moved to Canada, I remember going to there were so many good used bookshops in Toronto, and I tried to go back to them. There was only one basically that was any good that was still left, and we went in there, and it had been a while since I've sort of read science fiction. So I asked the clerk, I was like, so do you have any good recommendations of science books? And he's like, what do you like? I said, well, I do like science fiction. He's like, what do you like? And I mentioned the different authors that I like. And he's like, well, have you read any Robert Heinlein? I was like, no, I haven't, but I've heard of him and people have recommended. And he's like, well, what about Starship Troopers? And I was like, you mean like the movie? You know, because that's what I think.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
didn't like the movie back then. Sorry, Gareth. Sorry about that.
Okay, I'm hanging up. I'm hanging up.
But by the way, I've seen it back. I've seen it again, and I actually like it now.
It's a good movie. It's fun.
Fine. But when I was 19, I was pretentious.
It's an ugly planet. It's a bug planet.
Right. Listen, I didn't like it.
They came from, what's the name of the planet? Klendathu.
I don't remember. I need to read the book
again. Planet Klendathu. It's an ugly planet. A bug planet.
I thought it was a joke movie when I first saw it. When I saw it again after reading the book, I liked it. But and it's quite different. Of course, movies are often quite different from the book. But
isn't the book very like socialist kind of? It's got like a very political kind of vibe to it.
I would describe it differently, perhaps, than that. Like, so this is the first. This is the first science fiction book that I could basically, like, the way I read it. I finished it. I was like, I really like that book. I'm not sure what I think of the political philosophy. And then I closed the book and I was like, I handed my friend. I was like, I'm not sure I think of anything about the book besides the political philosophy.
Well, what was the political philosophy of the book?
As far as I can sum it up, was basically service guarantees citizenship. Is just basically the way you can describe it. And that I find that to be probably the opposite of socialism. You might describe it as fascism. You might just whatever.
Well, maybe it's national socialism.
Or might be national socialism, whatever you want to call it. But like,
if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I smell what you're stepping in. But like, I finished the book, I closed it, and I handed it to my friend, and I was like, this is the first science fiction book that made me think not of the story, but about the stuff that's going on behind the mechanics of the politics scene that made me think about them, and then the story outside it was.
That's a good thing, though, man. That's pretty cool that it forced your mind into those areas.
Well, it's kind of like what's another one? Ender's Game was a little bit similar, and then of course, Speaker for the Dead, and I've only read 2 of those books in the Ender's Game series.
Well,
but
didn't the guy who I forget the author's name, the guy who wrote Ender's Game, didn't he get like?
Hard, I believe.
That's right. He got canceled because he was very vehemently.
I had no idea.
Yeah, because he was anti-gay.
I had no idea. I mean, I really should turn on the. No, I shouldn't turn on the news. Never turn on the news.
Don't watch the news.
But Starship Troopers, I really recommend. Whether you like that politic behind it or you don't like it, it's challenging. What I found challenging as what I would call myself in 2011 was a bog standard progressive would be that it does seem more. It does seem that if you're gonna have a society that votes in a thing, they should also at least have blood in the game. And the idea was, if you served military, you bled, and you survived, you could become a citizen that could vote. That's to me, even today, sounds. Again, I'm a right wing. I'm a right winger. So I like the idea of duty, and I like the idea of hierarchy, etc. But at the time, even as a bog standard progressive, it was like, there's something there that I haven't really thought about that maybe is important, maybe not.
Yeah.
And I liked the book, and I'd like to read it again, Mr. Jansen, if you ever get the time to return it all the way to
drop it in the mailbox.
Yep.
Let me ask you a question, Nathan. In our previous conversations, you mentioned that you are not a fan of democracy. Could you elaborate on that?
He brings it up now. It's hard to sort of explain my stance on democracy in just maybe even a couple of hours. I have no idea. But the way I as a right winger, I idealize the past, right? And you can criticize me, and that's perfectly fine on that. But I guess when I read historical narratives, when I read philosophy from the past, when I read people in the modern day writing about the past, apart from really sort of political narratives, most people don't talk so much about the government of the day. What they talk about is the goings on between peoples. And now I think we're obviously hyper politicized today.
Yep.
And you can blame that on a million different things. Personally, I would blame it on democracy, because I think democracy is a tool that makes people think about, basically, if you're going to vote for a party, right, fine, I'm a monarchist, whatever. You can call me whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me. I believe in polls. So, but if you live in a system that has a ruler or a rule that everyone has to follow, within that system, you don't have then the polity hating each other for voting for this person or that person, or for the various manifold ideas that come from each party, or say there's 4 parties and and you don't have to have a million opinions. You do. Now, again, as a right winger, my idea is more.
Somebody in the chat said we should make this a drinking game. Every time he says right winger, we should have a shot.
Well, I would have to fill up my glass. I would imagine. I'd imagine that I'd be kind of. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Hey.
I'm fascinated by this though, because I'm not a fan of democracy either. But I think my reasons for not liking democracy are significantly different to yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested to hear that. Wait a second.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
No, my thought. I'm not sure how I could properly. Luke White's laughing over there. I'm not. He's laughing at Simon. If you follow the chat, like
I'm just glancing over every couple of minutes. I'll just glance quickly to see what's going on.
What's going on?
I've probably missed a ton of stuff that's happening over there.
What I've noticed is this time, at least, it seems like what's going on in the chat doesn't have a lot to do with what's going on with us.
They're just typing away
behind the scenes jokes, etc. And then every once in a while, someone mentions something that we just said. So these people are obviously up to stuff, and I'm glad they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
But yeah, my basic idea would be that, and I understand a number of criticisms about my ideas, but basically, in a more traditional society, you have a lord in the area, good or bad. They can be horrible. Sure. They could be wonderful, right? And you and the people around you are not generally broken up into segments that then work. Like, for instance, I live in a I guess you call it a bed area where everyone sleeps, and then they all go to different places to work. So they all go to different corporations to work. But in the past, now I am tying democracy also to liberal economics, etc.
Well, can I just touch on something really quick? So
yes,
it seems like the monarchy idea is something that's close to your heart. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there. Like you mentioned, maybe there's a lord or a king or something that has the power with the people.
Yeah.
But how does one become a lord or a king?
Well, from what I mean, I'm not sure that anyone from the sort of the modern world understands exactly how people. I mean, we have ideas that, like, there were, for instance, if you listen to certain peoples talking about their gods or their kings, they talk about people who had great power or did great feats in the past, and they established dynasties. Or you maybe have people that were more cunning, etc., that created economic dynasties, etc.
So basically, what you're saying is, in order to become a lord or a king, you have to be really good at stealing or really good at killing.
I'm not sure. Like, let's say
maybe both.
What? I guess I would say it like this. Let's say you're attacked by the next town over, and your leader does a really good job.
How does he get to be leader?
By being a badass that protects your people.
Yeah, but how does he? I mean, is there like a job application for this? How does he get that job?
No. Just by either being the best, or being, as some people say, having responsibility thrust upon him, and then
but you're tying this. I mean, are you aware of the illusion of authority?
You'll have to describe that, because I think I have an idea of it, but I'm not sure I understand what you.
Okay, so authority is a fantasy. It
Right.
doesn't exist. It's make believe. The only way authority can exist is if people subscribe to it. In other words, if I was to say to you, Nathan, I want you to immediately do this right now,
Right.
and you were to say, nah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Then where's my authority?
I guess it wouldn't exist if I
Exactly.
could say no.
Exactly.
There were no ramifications or repercussions. Yeah.
Right. So how do I make you do what I want you to do?
I guess are you going to go
I'll
through
tell you.
force or something? Yeah.
Yeah. Through violence.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's absolutely part of it. Yeah, for sure.
Right?
I'm sure that's a huge part of it. Yeah.
Authority is an illusion. It's make believe fantasy, and it's only enforced by violence. So a government, by its very definition,
Right.
is an organization that has a monopoly on violence. It's not a level playing field.
Right.
They got all the guns, they got all the power. Therefore, they can tell you what to do, right or wrong.
I agree with that. Yeah, sure.
So, you see where I'm going with this?
I think. Well, I don't exactly. I'm sure I can. I will say. I see where you're going. You're gonna. I suppose I would say, you're going to suggest that basically authority structures are probably there to keep a certain people either not. I don't. Maybe I don't want to speak. I don't want to say I think where you're going, but I probably could see where you're going, and I could, but I'm not sure.
Well, it's what I'm saying is that all authority and hierarchy, it's fantasy. It doesn't exist. It's make believe.
Yeah.
Right. It's all play acting. It's all pretend.
Yeah.
Except that those who get in those positions enforce those positions through acts of extreme violence. And that's how they subjugate and make people do what they want to do.
Right.
So the Lord or the king or whatever, he's the Lord or the king because he knows how to fuck people up.
Yeah.
It's based on violence. Period.
I guess I mean there's absolutely truth to that. Yeah, I let's say I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Okay,
but I may not disagree. Like in terms of structure, like I guess I would say, let's say maybe there is. Okay, so my favorite film of all time is Gods Must Be Crazy.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. So it actually involves. I suppose you could say there's. I don't know if you would describe it as a libertarian society, but there's a technological society. There's a tyrannical not military dictatorship. There's a tyrannical terrorist organization, obviously, who derive their power absolutely from the terror that it can perpetuate on anyone. And within the group itself, the guy that is the leader does that. And then there's what I would probably broadly and possibly mistakenly call a libertarian society, who is the tribe of the Bushmen, who basically live off the land. They can move their huts when they want. Sure. When they want to drink, they have all the technology that they need to live peacefully and successfully, and they interact with other tribes. And as far as we're seeing from the movie, there's no sort of you can see there's a hierarchy because the man who's the main character is the leader of his tribe.
Right.
But he also, if you watch him, he's the only one that's willing to take the evil thing and throw it off the world, to cast the evil out of. So I would say, even in what I would call a libertarian society in this film, not theoretically, but in this film, as is described in this film, the man who's the leader or is the father of the tribe, who you can tell through the narrative is the one who holds the greatest authority, but who also looks up to various elders, etc. He's the one that takes the responsibility and takes this Coke bottle, which has caused a lot of pain in their lives, and throws it off the end of the earth. Get ready to drink, as a right winger would be like that man who's willing to walk 40 days and 40 nights, cast the thing off the world in order to save his family, deserves the right to lead. Now, in the story, you don't see him committing any violence. In fact, you see violence committed upon him by various forces. And then you see people who cooperate with him, etc.
Right. But what you're describing, though, is basically a unicorn.
A unicorn.
Right?
Doesn't exist in reality.
Doesn't exist in reality.
Right.
It's a wonderful ideal,
Right.
but it doesn't exist.
No, listen. From a modern perspective, I guess, like I said, I suppose I would be an idealist in terms of I don't, and I'm not sure how to tie this back to minidisc. Kind of want to do it, but I don't think I should. I'm not sure. It's not the time. But like,
try. It's good. Yes.
Yeah, I'll try, man. I'll try to go there. But like, I believe that there are such things as ideals. So, for instance, if
no, ideals are real. Yeah,
no,
we all have these.
I think
yeah.
the ideals have to be tested, and the test often comes through things such as violence. Now, it doesn't have to be. Now, violence is always, there's always someone who gets hit in violence. When there's an altercation, there's always someone that gets hit. There's always a loser and a winner. Although sometimes I suppose you could say that there's a draw, but there's usually someone that benefits from the draw.
Well, violence doesn't have to be like, someone, punching you in the face or anything. I mean,
Right.
Obviously that is violence, but it doesn't have to be that way. Being coerced into doing something you don't want to do is violence. Paying a parking ticket is violence. It is.
Yeah, I'll accept that.
It is. It's violence.
It's a non-aggression principle.
It's completely because let's say you park illegally, right?
Right.
And they say, you owe us whatever. Here's a ticket. Yeah. And you're like, fuck this. I'm not. You throw it in the garbage.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Well, I guess the authorities, if they want to, they would have the right. They would be able to take you to court. Or they would.
So then they say you get a summons to go to court. You didn't pay this parking ticket. Yeah. You have a summons to appear in court on this day, and you're like, fuck that. I'm not going. Yeah. What happens next?
Well, if you don't go, I mean, I'm not going to say it depends on this, but let's say just ultimately, if things go the way they're supposed to be, then you would either have a massive fine or you could even be thrown in jail.
Okay, so you get it. So they say, well, you didn't do that, so now the fine is like $10,000. You're like, hey, you know what? I'm not paying that. Fuck that. What happens then?
Oh, it's jail, I guess.
Okay, so then they come in and they
yeah.
Mr. Davis, we're taking you to jail, and you're like, nah, I got things to do. I'm not going to jail today. What happens then?
Well, eventually, I imagine that eventually
let's cut to the chase. What'll eventually will happen is that you will be murdered.
Yeah.
Right.
Eventually, everything.
So you will be. Think about this. Yeah. You will be murdered.
Right.
Because you parked your car in the wrong spot.
Yeah. So what if I agree with all that? What if I agree with all that, but I still believe in hierarchy, in leadership, in ideals that are not individualistic? So let's say, fine. But again, Luke, whoever it is, you ready?
Yeah, okay, here we go. Get ready. Okay, I got my beer. I'll take a drink. Go ahead.
As a right wing.
There we go. Cheers.
I would suggest that not all power is derived from or is taken through or is harvested out of a people. That because I believe in this thing called ideals.
Yeah, you're an idealist.
I am an idealist.
You're not a right winger. You're an idealist.
Well, I guess. So let me just pause here. Like, when I say right winger, I don't mean like liberal, conservative, or progressive versus. I guess you could say I'm more of a traditionalist. That might be a way to.
Okay.
People call themselves traditionalists. So, I believe, for instance, that full autonomy. Okay, in the past. Even if you had a more a tyrannical leader, usually, even then, you would have fewer interactions between the tyrannical leader and the regular folk than you do today.
Yeah.
When we consider ourselves under.
Do you know why?
I guess it would be the constant expansion of.
No, because the threat of death at any fucking moment. That's why.
You have to explain that.
Well, I try my utmost not to interact with the police at all.
Stay away.
Right? And there's only one reason I do that. I don't want to die.
Of course, yeah.
I'm being serious.
No, I know, I agree.
Every interaction you have with the police officer,
Yeah.
whether it's completely benign, like, excuse me, officer, do you have the right time?
Yeah.
Right? Every interaction you have with them has the potential for your death.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So that's why in a tyrannical system, people don't interact with the government, because they don't want to fucking die.
Right. In the more modern sense, like the amount, like whatever route you ascribe where this power is coming from a modern sense, there's way more many governmental interactions between the regular people and the power. And so in the traditional, like, let's say you live in, it's before the Meiji era, and you literally have Japan closed off. They call it Sakkoku, which is like the closed country, or country closed from the outside. And you have a shogun dictator. And you have the shogun, and you have the other pole is the emperor. You have the spiritual, and you have the mechanical, or the materialistic, or the brunt. And both of those poles control the country, but the regular people are not interacting. You can look at historical accounts. You can look at dramatization.
Okay, you have two tigers. And they're fighting each other. Right? Are you going to go and interact with those two guys?
No.
Why is that?
I don't want to get hurt.
Exactly.
Right.
That's it.
Maybe. I would say this, like, more like this. Your life, if you, what's really hard to as a mini disc traditionalist.
Yay!
On topic. Yeah, as a more traditionally minded, like, I don't think it's possible to be a traditionalist. If you were a real traditionalist, you wouldn't be. You would be some guy living out in the bush. But as a person who's more traditionally minded, you understand that the human being has, I don't even want to say from a needs perspective. It's just that what the human being has throughout, whether they're a hunter-gatherer or whether the post-agricultural revolution, post-industrial revolution, there's three. I get some people who are more philosophically minded could probably bring up a bunch of different eras, but I would say hunter-gatherer, agriculture, and industrial.
All right.
And maybe there's something else, but I don't know. Right. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. But like, even if you look at those three different segments of history, you still have the same needs. The human has to eat.
Sure.
The human has to sleep. The human has to.
Well, was it Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You know,
I've heard of that. Yeah, heard of that.
The pyramid of you know, you need shelter, right? You need clothes. You need food.
Right.
There's this hierarchy, this pyramid. You keep going up, right?
Oxygen.
Yeah, you need like, I can't remember exactly, but you need shelter, you need clothes, you need food, and that's the survival component, right? Without those three, you need those three to survive, and then above that, you need community, you need to interact with people, your tribe, whatever, and you keep going up. But the top of the pyramid is self actualization, where you have everything you need, so you can begin to stop looking outward and start looking inward, and then bettering yourself as a person.
Right.
And you can self-actualize. You can actually, like, if let's just say you like to draw, and you're an artist, right? But you live in a country or a place where doing art is not putting food on the table. You got to work. You got to work in the factory, fucking 8 days a week,
right,
to survive. So art, that's your passion. That's what you're good at. that's taking a back seat, right? But when you go up the hierarchy of needs, when you get to that point where all that shit's taken care of as far as survival, at that point, then art can become your life.
Yeah.
You know? You don't have to worry about like fucking where's the next meal coming from.
Yeah.
You can sit down in front of the canvas for 9 hours a day and paint shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I guess materially, I totally agree. Like, I guess like how would I describe it? I would probably. I'm not sure if I would take Maslow's hierarchy of what's his name?
Maslow.
Right. I've heard about it before. I've never read it. People talk about it.
You just Google it. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put that in the show notes, but that's homework. That's homework for me.
Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that's that. He breaks it down. It's like he draws like a pyramid, and then the levels of each level that we and at the top is self-actualization.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I probably agree with that. Anyone ready? I don't got nothing anymore. No, I can't. I can't join you. So I'd have to wait. If you give me a minute and a half, I could fill up. But I should probably finish this idea before I do that.
Do that because I got to go to the restroom in a minute anyway. So maybe we can do like a mini break where you can go get another drink and I can go and relieve myself.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Oh yeah. Well, that's great. I guess I would say, and this is right before the break. Right before the break, I would say that maybe I understand that and I totally agree with that from a material perspective, but I would probably put. In some ways, I would put. I guess you could say like I would consider that the Encino Man, the Encino Man interpretation. So
Encino is not that far from me, right?
I don't know. I've seen the movie. My daughter loves the movie. All I know is that the guy, he comes out of the ice and like one of the first things he tries to make fire. He does it throughout the movie. And whenever he feels lost, he goes back to that one thing, which is he's got to make fire. The only thing he knows is he's got to make fire. And I would look at that from a non-materialistic perspective to say that there's a fire. Fine, you need the fire to cook food. You need the fire for warmth. You need the fire for civilization, essentially. You need the fire to sit around. Fine, you need the fire. Without the fire that you can sit around, you don't have a society. Whether the fire is huge in a hall and you're a Viking, and your king is basically like not even a level above you. He's like slightly above you, but you're all like basically warriors. Yeah. Whatever, whether you're equals with a king or the king is way above you, or whether you're in a small group of people like the Cosmos is crazy and the fire is just it's the last light that you see before you go to bed. It's the thing you cook. It basically ties your entire life. There's something that's non-material within the fire, but it's also material. But he always goes back to that, and so I would see a movie like Encino Man, one of the great philosophical delights of the 90s, as a movie that basically demonstrates that. Am I talking about? There's things mean more than this. Everyone, most people know. What you see and how you interpret a thing is a very. What's the word? Sam Harris uses the word. I forget. I'm not Sam Harris. I can't speak on his level. But like, there's so many strains, and I can't say the thing I wanted to say because I don't got anything in here, so I won't say it. But
go fill it up, and then you can say it.
Take it. All right, everyone, give us.
Take a break. Take 3 minutes. Three minutes.
3 minutes. 3 minutes. We're going to come back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Oh, hey, that's cool. How'd you do that?
We'll be right back after these messages.
We'll be right back after these messages.
There you go. Back. Back.
I was back, and I brought some show and tell.
Oh, what you got?
I brought a hammer, brought a piece of wood,
Piece of wood. There you go.
and I brought a drill. I'm not
All
sure.
right.
I'm not sure I'm gonna sort of complete. By the way, hey guys, how you doing?
How you doing? How you doing over there? You doing all right? Hey.
Hey, how you doing? You're looking. I don't have any Italian in me.
Hey, what's the matter with you?
What's a you know, I'm so in and out of like not like properly anywhere that I can't really like. I hear a beer.
Yeah, I just cracked open a delicious 805.
I just basically decanted the entire leftover bits at the bottom of whatever.
Excellent.
Excellent, yeah, of whatever.
Excellent. Shaw, whatever.
Encino Man. Is this? That sounds like Pauly Shore. No, we were talking about Encino. No,
You were talking about how Encino Man was like one of your favorite movies.
Cheers. You know, I'm not sure I would say that, but it's probably
okay.
It's not probably far off the mark.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Encino Man.
I do like it. One of my favorite scenes in all of cinema is when Encino Man wakes up. Brendan Fraser wakes up. He gets out. He's got his clothes on. He's in the street. He picks up a shovel and he starts fighting the garbage picker because he thinks the garbage truck because he thinks it's the woolly mammoth. It just
yeah. It's
you know, and you know what? To him that was a woolly mammoth. It's almost like if you read the book of Revelation, the Christian book of the Bible, and they're talking about like these great locusts, and in my church they're like these great locusts in the end times will be the helicopters. Because now listen, I have no idea if that's true or not. I have no idea. We could be from a Christian perspective right now in the end times. We could be from Indo-Aryan perspective. We could be in the Kali Yuga. We could be in Ragnarok. We could be in a whole bunch of different eras at the same time. We might not be in any of them, but if you look at an image from the future, how we describe it in your own language, maybe a helicopter would be a locust. The point of this topic is to him that was a woolly mammoth because the only thing that would make sense.
Well, because he couldn't comprehend what he was experiencing, and the closest thing that was in his brain that he could relate to it was it.
Yeah, exactly. I would say that.
A primitive mind and a primitive worldview interacting with a modern society.
Yeah. Someone here. It's Punches Couches.
Punches Couches. Yeah.
Saying like locusts upon the earth, so they will not touch anything green.
There you go. So they won't touch money.
I don't want to get into the Book of Revelation because I haven't read it enough.
Yeah.
But basically, where we were talking about Encino Man.
Encino Man.
Describe my. You guys ready? right wing.
There you go. Well, what am I doing? You said right wing. I gotta take a drink here. Here you go.
Because I'm an idealist. Because I'm an idealist, and from a libertarian or totalitarian perspective, hate it or love it. I look at the past through forms, and I did bring some show and tell at the moment, and this is not the best show and tell. I showed you my MD stuff already, but
What you
anyway,
got
I'm
there?
gonna show you. So this is a
Drill.
drill I'm using. It's a hand drill, obviously.
Yeah,
I flagged it here to go down 3 centimeters. This is the drill I'm using for a new channel I'll eventually have going called Prolly, like probably, but Prolly. It's Prolly. It's already up.
Are you going to be building stuff on that channel?
Yes. However, I'm going to be doing it from a right wing perspective.
Building stuff on a right wing perspective. I don't follow you.
I'll put it because I believe in forms and sort of idealism. I believe that, let's say you have master craftsmen today and you have master craftsmen hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago, and how I would compare the skills between them, and not maybe basically skills versus skills, but sort of the generative aspect of what they do, is if those skills can be passed on from generation to generation through the regime they're in, and it can pass on the other side to a different regime. And that means political, economic.
See, I don't think skills like that are passed on through regimes. I think they're passed on through genetics.
Probably necessary shouldn't say exactly just skills, but like the human being has those needs. Got to make the fire, to warm themselves, to make the food, but also again there's the spiritual element where you want to commune.
Can I give you a number of years ago, I planted a tree.
Yeah. What type of tree?
I don't fucking remember. It's a tree. And I dug the ditch and I put it in and I planted it and I put it all there and I did it all instinctively.
Yeah.
No one was instructing me on how to do it.
Yeah.
And one of the guys who was there that was like a tree, planter guy, he was like, "Oh, you've done this before." And I was like, "No."
Yeah.
This is the first time and last time I ever did it. But you know what I mean? It was like I instinctively knew what to do and how to do it without being told.
Right.
Now that's like a genetic memory or something that's built into me. Maybe 1,000 years ago, one of my ancestors was a fucking tree planter dude. I don't know, but it's a part of me. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. Wait. As a right wing, I fully understand the idea of a connection, whether you call it genetic or whether you call it ethnic or whatever you call it to the past. And I celebrate it and I idealize it. And so I personally, listen, I used to work construction back when I was 8. Well, I used to work 2, not full-time. One was full-time and the other was part-time, but they kind of overlap sometimes. A full-time and part-time job. One was construction, one was working in a restaurant at the same time. So I'd finish my construction job, go to the restaurant, and then every once in a while the construction would then dovetail. So there'd be like extra construction work on top of the construction work from a different opportunity. Yeah. And so that would be part-time plus the part-time plus the full-time. And through all the construction that I did from, I'm trying to remember this probably, I think it's 18 to 21, 22. After that, I did university, right? So in university, you gotta have like perfectly manicured hands, and you can't be a construction worker. But like when I was doing construction work, one thing I would say is that we had the great democratization of technology at all of our hands. So whether the guy knew how to actually build something or not, all you had to take was a power drill and a screw. And as long as you could kind of generally guide it in, you could basically put up a wall. And whether it was an aluminum stud, which was just like a U bracket like this, crappy thing that can be taken down, you could kick it down. You could kick a wall down, no problem. Or it was a stick frame, or it was a timber frame. Well, actually, timber frames usually are done with more traditional joints, etc. So you actually have to have some skills. But for modern construction, basically anyone who's willing to listen to instructions could basically get it.
Do it right.
Can do it,
Yeah.
and you can make pretty good money. And there's a whether you're not on the whether you're on the side of democratization or not may sort of define where, like, how you interpret what I'm about to say. So I would say that back then, when everyone can put up a wall, and then as long as they have a foreman, put up anything, and whether or not the structure lasts 30 years, 100 years, or less, they could get it done and just finish the job. I would say that against historical perspectives, that sort of job where anyone can do it is not a good thing. Now, I'm open to critique from a million ways, and that's perfectly fine for me.
Well, it's like it's like playing the piano. Anyone can learn how to play the piano, right? If you have the time and the inclination and you're willing to work at it, anyone can learn how to play the piano. But there's only a handful of people that'll be any good at it.
Virtuosos, or whatever you call them.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyone can do it. Anyone can play. You can learn how to play some couple of tunes, and but there's going to be some people that they sit down in front of that keyboard and it's like, boom, they fucking on it.
Yeah.
Instinctually.
Yeah.
Did you know what I mean?
No, of course. Yeah. No, I mean, there's people that are either they have some sort of innate genius that allows them to do something here or there. There's the jack of all trades who can do everything well. There's the people who are uncoordinated, but maybe they have some other skills, But like basically, what I'm trying to say is that the democratization tools that we have at our disposal, they don't allow you to differentiate true genius from non-genius very well. So if anyone could put up a wall, then you have thousands of people putting up houses, and in the end, they all end up looking the same. The reason is because now you could look at the past. You say, well, the past had its own design. But the thing about the past was, in order to get, for instance, like a stone arch up, you had to have master masons who knew how to get the stones in the perfect shape in order to hold themselves up together with gravity. But today you don't need that.
No.
You just don't need that. All you need is some sort of like steel spindles in the middle that can hold up anything. You don't need the expertise. And because I'm an idealistic right-winger, I believe that the past that did bring up things like journeymen and masters that understood, fine, doesn't have to be just a materialistic sort of vocation. Doesn't have to be just a carpenter or blacksmith. But like in general, there is people that know their stuff that then, let's say, okay, so right now I'm going to use Japan as an example, and then I'll talk about Sweden. Because in Japan right now, you have every 20 to 50 years, you have temples and castles being rebuilt from the ground up. And the reason is because fires happen, earthquakes happen. And they want to keep the thing alive. So they want people to be able to see the castle or go to enjoy it, or the temple. Maybe there's a religious reason, maybe there's a cultural reason. But if they just build it to look like what existed in the past, what you're actually looking at and enjoying at is not actually the form of the past. You're not enjoying what your ancestors built, because if it just looks it, but it's held up by nails and it's not held up by the traditional joinery, you don't actually have. All you have is the outer form, but the inner sinews of the thing, which are held up by beautiful joinery, which are handed down from generation to generation, and which do absolutely transcend the regimes that they live in. So those temples, etc., are being built now under the liberal regime of Japan, but they were built through the previous Meiji restoration. They were built through through the tyrannical. Listen, I wouldn't call it tyrannical, but I think other people might call it through the shogunate. Through the empirical days, and even before, they existed through all that. And that is because there's nature, and in nature, a piece of wood sticks best to wood. It grows when it's cold. If it's held together well, and it shrinks slightly, you can just pound the wood just slightly, or if it sinks with gravity, and when it gets warm, then it expands again. When it rains, it fits together. But if you add a piece of nail, then the nail will rust, it will pull away, etc. But those sort of forms exist, and the Japanese, as liberal as they've become, and as much as have had to and have cast away the past, understand that there's certain ideals that they have to hold up. And so those castles, there's some castles with elevators in them, right? So that's obviously not traditional. But a lot of these old temples and some of the old castles, when they rebuild them, they make sure that the tools are slightly different. Like the steel used now is different than the iron or the steel that used 1,000 years ago.
Why are they rebuilding them?
Well, there's a whole bunch of reasons. One, again, we have earthquakes. I say we, I'm not Japanese. They have earthquakes here every week. You can feel it every single week. There's some big ones. There's some small ones. Like we had one about 3 weeks ago where the whole house was, that didn't happen very often. Probably every 6 to 10 years, where it's just, things fall off the shelf. But small one.
I can relate. I'm in California.
Yeah, right. Well, small ones you have every single week. And if you're cognizant of everything's around you, you'll be like, oh, there's an earthquake right now. And actually outside you can hear it. It goes, and it's not a siren. It's the earth makes a sound as it vibrates. But you have the way, as far as I understand it, as liberal as the government has become, the government still understands that there's a transcendent value to keeping the skills of the past alive in the present. Now, there's a very finite number of people that can still put up a temple the way they did 1,000 years ago. Very finite. Maybe in the entire country, maybe you have 1,000 people that can do it. Maybe fewer. I don't know. It could be more.
Right.
The house. I watched the house. By the way, my computer is right on the edge of my house, and my house, by the way, is made in not traditional, in a modern way. It looks like a Swedish house, but it's not. It looks like a Swedish house from the 1800s, but it's not made like a Swedish house from the 1800s. It's made like a house in the 1980s or whatever to look like a Swedish house. But the house next to me, I watched being put up, and it's literally like, okay, cut a piece of stick, put up the stick, hammer it in, nail it in, and it went up quick, but it's exactly the same way things are done in Canada, USA, etc. for a house. Now, it's more economically feasible because if you use a timber frame, you have to get proper huge logs. You have to cut them out, etc. And you also have to have a master who knows how to fit everything together. Because if all you have is nails and screws, you can just kind of lower something using a joist and then poke it into place. But if you have to fit things with actual joinery, you have to have mastery.
Right, but these ancient buildings, they're built, 200, 300, 400 years ago.
Yeah. And
they're still around.
Yeah.
And earthquakes happen back then as they do now. So what's the deal with this rebuilding them shit?
Well, there's also fires. So one of the famous castles that we visited about 4 years ago in Okinawa, which is southern part of Japan, burned down. And so this happens often as well. I don't know what happened. People suggest that there was a cigarette, and this is kind of, listen, I don't know what, no one knows, but the thing burned down. Yes, you can absolutely. I visited, for instance, a city in northern Norway called Urus, and I'm screwing up the name. I don't remember how to speak Swedish or Scandinavian, so my pronunciation is screwed up. But they had buildings that were, I think the average town age was 400 to 700 years old, and the buildings you could watch them. They're kind of like starting to tilt, but people still. Some people lived in them, and some people had their businesses there. But like, they were beautiful old wood buildings, and the thing about northern Norway is the wetter, it's a colder. You're not going to have to worry about sort of fires, etc. In Japan, I think the modern, I don't know what it was like in the past. I don't know if they rebuilt them, say, every 50 years or 20 years. But in the modern day, if you do not rebuild an old structure, often you will literally lose all those skills, because every other building that's built in Japan is built with a modern construction set.
Right.
So the only way to keep those skills alive is to teach the young people. Exactly. And there are very few young people that have those skills, who are being brought up by the older generation who have those skills. And the only way to do it is through,
But it's not just they have the skills and they're willing to teach.
Yeah.
I would guess, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I would guess that most young people don't give a shit. They don't want to learn that.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, so you could say that for everywhere. So like I live in, like I said, a bed town. So everyone goes to bed here, and they all work in separate places. Most of them are probably clerks at some store, or they're programmers. But like, so if the lights went off tomorrow, none of these people would be able to survive.
Right.
Basically, all of us would be. Now the Japanese are, when something happens, they still have kind of like a cultural. They have an ability to be like, okay, I'm not gonna like kill this guy. At the like when you watch the earthquakes from 10 years ago, people still queued for water. Now there was very little looting, etc. Like, it's whatever you want to think of that. If that's a racial or a cultural, an ethnic thing, or if it's
a cultural thing.
As a right thing.
Well, you think it's racial, or you think it's I think it's cultural.
I think it's a whole bunch of things. But I mean, I remember when I was a very small kid in Sweden, and then when I went back as a 10-year-old, and then I went back as a 20-year-old. Sweden, you could see it change. And when we moved to Canada, and then moved away, I'm an idiot, and then I'm a perpetual immigrant, I guess, or ex-immigrant, not immigrant, expat. Perpetual expat, which excrat, whatever, you can describe that however you want. But like, whenever I went back, you could see it literally deform. When I moved to Canada, we lived in a city. My name's out there, doesn't matter. Called Woodbridge, and it was second generation and first generation Italian immigrant town. Pristine, no trash anywhere, really clean. I went back in 2011. There was no second generation Italians to see anywhere. It was people from
all left.
And they were all people from elsewhere who had not only no investment within Western culture, but no investment. Like Canada is bed town basically for the world. If you want to go sleep there for 10 years, you could do that and then move away. Right? Trash everywhere.
Right.
And the amount of like what used to be, there was small sort of Italian oriented shops, etc. They're all gone. It's just basically big box shops from internationally, and as well as ones that dominate Canada. And it was just like the meaning of the local was essentially destroyed. The meaning of the international local was destroyed, and the meaning of the international was expanded, where there was no roots to dig back into. And again,
well, it's like there in the go ahead.
As a right winger.
I mean, when you look at the world, okay, there are lots of countries that are doing well.
Yeah.
And there are lots of countries that are not.
Yeah.
Right? That are just, there's great countries and there are piece of shit countries. And a lot of these people who are in these piece of shit countries, they want to get out of those countries because they realize it's a fucking shithole. Right? So they want to leave. Understandably so. And if I unfortunately, if I lived in one of those countries, I'd be like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm out. I don't want to live here with you mental cases. I'm out of here. Right? I would hop the fence in a heartbeat to get out of that shithole.
Yeah.
So these people leaving, you cannot blame the people.
No,
right?
Of course not. Never.
They're going to leave because they're living in a piece of garbage country where the government is fucked up or whatever. It's a nightmare to live there. So they want to get the fuck out. I totally get it.
Yeah.
The issue is that when they get out and they move to a country that's stable and better, instead of getting with the program and conforming, they want to bring all that bullshit that they left behind. They want to bring it with them.
Yeah. Of course.
And then it fucks up everything.
But I mean, I would.
By the way, I just got your channel taken down.
Well, this might be the last live stream. But as a right wing, I would say, I would personally say that it's that there's no way not to take with you what you have. So again, like I said, when I met my Canadian friend or other foreigners here in Japan, we immediately.
Let me just throw this out there.
Sure,
you moved to Japan, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Did you learn Japanese?
Yes.
did you conform to the local customs and the laws and the way of life there?
Impossible. Well, I'll say
to a degree.
To a degree, yeah, of course. No,
Right.
I'm a law-abiding, not citizen, obviously, but of course, the Japanese government is now trying to make foreigners.
No, but you're not running around with the fucking Canadian flag on your car and saying, Canada's the fucking shit. You guys are fucked. I'm the best.
I would say Canada is the fucking shit, but in a different.
But you're not doing all that, right?
No.
But
No.
there are many people from other countries that go to Western nations who do that.
Okay, so as a right winger, I totally agree. The thing is, what I would say is that the West has just almost to a year, almost to a decade, decided that it's going to have the same program. And I don't want to get on this topic because anyway, the program is bringing. Wait.
Well, you know why?
Yeah.
Because that's revenue.
Okay, fine.
Because all those people that come into the country from piece of garbage nation here, they're going to tax the fuck out of them.
I'm on board with that. I'm on board.
So the more people you bring in, cha-ching.
I'm on board with that. With that. Where I would probably maybe sort of go on a different route is basically to say that it all happened at the same time, all happened like after a certain event in history, or maybe several events in history. Inexplicably, all of that happened or occurred in countries that were either against a certain power or with a certain power. So it was kind of like irrespective of which perspective they took in several different events in history. They're all experiencing the same problems. At the same time, they're also questioning the validity of their people to have a story of their own, a people of their own, etc. I would also suggest that the same thing is happening in Japan, just to maybe this is the word that got me banned on Twitter. The word means slow down. Retarded, the perspective is retarded by 20 or 30 years. So what happened in the West is happening in Japan now, and for the same reasons, well, maybe slightly different, but basically the same reasons, which are you want to have a perpetually growing economy. You want to have an expanding product base, and you cannot do that if everyone's having the idea that you must have a always growing. Turn up my MD unit here. You want to have a growing economy. You want to have a growing product base. You want to have a population that can buy more stuff. The only way to do that is to no longer if you find a way to make the same product to roughly within 5% of the same quality and save a lot of money, you always go the save money route. And so that it can never be, and this is why we already did democracy. I'm against capitalism, because capitalism always from a primordial right, not from a neoconservative standpoint, but from a more primordial right-wing perspective, always destroys the local. That is, if your town produces, let's go basic, a great blacksmith, and the blacksmith makes great swords, and somehow he's like, you know what, I can get 15 apprentices because people in the next town over have heard about my swords. Then I can sell them to the next town over. Right. That's great. It sounds great. I mean, that they have a business, they have but then the blacksmith in that area, maybe they'll be taken over, maybe not. Maybe you will then face someone who can more efficiently produce what you've made or what you're doing. And then eventually what happens is what used to be local is now, if you're still surviving, if your blacksmith shop is still surviving, then you have to sell to the entire world, and you can no longer prioritize the people in your area.
But I hear what you're saying, but what's the solution?
I don't want to get banned from YouTube, man.
Maybe say it in a way where it maybe use different words, and I don't know.
I guess I would say at some point, the money power, the power of profit, the power that basically
the power that sort of wants to divorce you from your roots. And again, as a right winger, I believe that there are roots that people have that are innate to their whatever you want to call it. I don't want you don't want to say any words here, but that are innate to them and maybe to their people. And those powers, those products, those abilities.
Yeah.
The moment you sell out to something that works for profit rather than for basically the profit motive over the sort of communal. And I don't mean communism. I don't mean flatten everything.
Yeah.
Like if you live for your community and the next community lives for the community, and you can cooperate with communities versus not cooperating, but basically being told what to do because this community over here has a monopoly on this power or this product, and then everything is eventually shipped abroad, which is the world we live in.
Yep.
Eventually you have to basically look at your vices. What are my vices? I want to live in a house that's air conditioned, has refrigeration. And fine, maybe that's it. Maybe we've gone so far past the point of no return that there's no possibility to go anywhere better, to experience the ideal life, to have any people around the world anywhere understand their father's ways from a good perspective. Maybe all of that's been destroyed completely. I don't know. Maybe there's no way back. But at some point we have to be like, is it better that I'm buying from a grocery store rather than and having a high salary, programming something for a foreign company? Is that better? Or is it better that maybe I were able to do something that connected to the traditions of my fathers for a lower amount of wages, but still able.
But doesn't it all boil down to what makes you happy? You know, being content in your life. You know, if making money and doing what you said makes you feel good and content, then so be it. If you going back to your heritage and the skills of your fathers, and if that makes you happy and content, so be it.
I guess I would take the opposite. I guess.
I mean, when you think about it, I mean, the end game here in life is happiness.
Yeah, I guess I would probably, generally, I would here. How can I would disagree with that, but I'm going to give a different example. So,
okay, sure.
I'm going to, because I don't know how to really put it into words that's going to make sense on this podcast that's ostensibly about many different wargoth, which is insane to even try to comprehend. But I'll bring it I'll bring my own perspective here from a church perspective. Okay, so I belong to a charismatic church in Toronto, Canada, called Toronto Airport Christian Fellowship, and the basic preaching from the pulpit was, if you feel peace from the Holy Spirit, then, and you are saved, meaning you're a follower of Christ and you've been redeemed by Christ, then what you feel peace in will then be Christ-like and then point to goodness. Okay. And so maybe broadly you could also remove the religion from that, remove the spiritualism from that, and take it and describe happiness with that. But at the same time, you can be happy or feel happy and do things that are not conducive to a functioning society in the future.
Right.
From an individual perspective. So if I understood all this, but I was so happy, like I could suddenly become a streamer and do YouTube gaming and be real popular. Awesome. But I had nothing to pass on. Let's say I had sons. I had no skills to pass on to my sons, but video gaming. But say, I guess I always come back to this. If the lights go out, what can you do that will allow you or your family, you could expand that out to your community or to your nation, how would you be able to, how does your life influence positively people to be able to generate rather than degenerate? And I consider personally, listen, I like video games. I think everyone does. We have a game downstairs from Neo Geo from the 1997, I believe it's called Shock Troopers 2. Awesome game, by the way. 2, sorry, not 2. Shock Troopers 2. Good game. And if I was making money on it, I mean, playing it on, no one would watch a game from 1997, right? But like, if I was making, if my hobby and my income were based on a systemic, like the system wants you to buy, but also in your hobbies you can buy, you can work in the system to sell something, and then at home your hobbies are then to also invest money back into the system to buy stuff, to potentiate, not to push forward the system,
right,
to make it more powerful and better. I find that fine. If it's fun, that's great. But I don't think that it helps anyone in the future. If you, for instance, listen, my family, my grandparents, and listen, I'm indicting myself. My grandparents had 5 kids. 5 kids is, back in that day, about average. If you go back 50 years before that, 5 kids is average or slightly on the low side. A lot of, if you look at family histories from 100 years, 200 years ago, a lot of people had 8 kids to 10 kids. Some of them died. There was higher mortality, but absolutely. A lot of them survived certainly into the 40s, 50s, 60s.
Right.
But you also had your family. Now you look at the regular family. I have 1 kid. I'm probably going to die having produced 1 child my entire life. And that's going to be normal for a lot of people. They're not going to create.
Well, I think it's a little more. I think it's a little more disturbing than that.
Go ahead.
There's an entire generation right now that has no interest in having children. Zero.
Yes. Well, it's probably. I would say there's a lot of external things to. It's hard. Like, I don't know if you're a libertarian or not, but I get the feeling that you have some libertarian ideals. And I have a lot of libertarian friends in my circles. They call this, don't give away too much, Nathan, but there's this thing called a pipeline, which is libertarian to something. And I'm not to say that libertarian is going to go this way or not, but like, I think a lot of libertarians are very logical minded people. And I respect that. And some of them are economic libertarians. I know some social libertarians. It's not a simple philosophy, right? It's quite manifold. But there's, how to describe it? There's kind of like the individualistic. From what I understand, there's kind of an individualistic tie through the basic. When I meet a person that calls himself, or maybe,
well, it's more of like it from my perspective, and I don't know if I even consider myself a libertarian, but I guess I do kind of align myself with many of those traits, but I don't really consider myself one of them, but I guess I could, hang in that direction. But it's like I don't like being told what to do.
Of course.
Especially by some fucking retard piece of garbage wearing a suit in government telling me I need to do this, that, or whatever, right? I'll do what I want to do. And if you're going to tell me that I need to do this and this, I'm going to turn those tables and say, you know what? How about I tell you what the fuck to do?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I agree with that.
I don't like it. I don't like it. When I switch on the TV and I see some fucking gormless, stupid, retard piece of shit with his fucking tie on saying, today we're going to, I'm like, get the fuck out of my face. I don't want to listen to your nonsense, you stupid ass. I mean, when I look at these politicians, all I see are lying, thieving pieces of garbage, human fucking waste.
Yeah.
They're worthless sacks of shit, every last one of them. I have no time. I have no time for those fools. I want them to be irrelevant to my life.
Huh?
Completely irrelevant. I don't want anything to do with them.
And let's
Anyone.
let's say I agreed.
Okay.
Let's say I agree. But like let's say I totally agree. And this is
Cool.
listen. I've watched because I've listened to. Now I haven't listened to enough of your. I haven't finished your entire catalog of podcasts.
My entire catalog.
Yeah, which would be impossible, to be honest. And I haven't read all your.
I'll mail them to you on mini disc.
Yeah. Mail them. Thank you in mono recording.
Mono, yeah.
And I haven't read every single tweet, and I've been Twitter is a thing of evidently of the past for me. So whatever, I haven't, but how does one describe? I agree. I totally agree. And yet, I would be. Here's the former charismatic Christian being like, there's a check in your spirit, my friend. Not a check in your spirit, but check in my spirit. I hear a check. And we had my church, Toronto Airport Christian Fellowship it was famous in the 90s for like this revival. And I think it was a bad thing. I think it was some sort of weird emotional break from, I don't know, some sort of evil. Well, listen, I don't even want to go. It's just weird stuff that went on in that church. I'll say one thing. We had one preacher from Brazil who came, and she put gold glitter in her hair and then shook it like this so that people could see gold coming out of her hair, and that would be some sort of emanation from the Holy Spirit. Yeah. It's just retarded stuff because people wanted to see some sort of. They wanted to see something. I guess for them, religion had to have some sort of physical manifestation to prove that God existed. And I don't listen. The whole conversation of God is so impossible to even get into. That I don't want to go there. I'm not a philosopher or anything like that. But like, I agree with you on all those points about having some governmental guy in a suit tell you what to do. Yeah. But at the same time, I believe that there's and like I said, I came to this belief. It's kind of in bifurcated. Like my life is bifurcated before 20 and after 20. So basically, I would say university basically screwed up, not because I changed my mind or because I take ideas seriously that are whatever. I went through university early on, a little bit from a Trotskyist perspective, believing there should be some sort of perpetual revolution, blah, blah, blah. Right. And I went through what was the subject of studying? Post-colonial literature, which is basically the backbone of all the wokeness that you could describe is that. Yeah. But it's not. Post-colonial literature is not the backbone. It's like a high-level variation of that.
But with this colonial thing, right? This kind of anti-European colonialism that's kind of engulfed the planet. It's like, you know what, dude? You want to drive cars or you want to ride horses? You want to live in a house or you want to live in a cave? You want to use a computer or you want to use a fucking what do you want to do?
Listen, I
want the car in the house. Yeah. Then shut the fuck up about this anti-European shit.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
No, seriously.
Yeah. No,
seriously. You know what I mean? You want to drive a car or you want to ride a horse? Tell me. Oh, I don't want to drive a car. Then shut the fuck up with this anti-European bullshit.
However, for instance, would it be? I guess. Oh man, I'm gonna get banned eventually. But but from a right-wing perspective, is it anti-European to have immigration or not? Like a mass immigration?
No, I think immigration is it's a natural thing. It's been happening for thousands of years. It's normal.
Okay, of course, it's movements of people have.
Yeah, it's normal. It's totally normal.
Or whether it's famine, whether it's literally just migration.
Sure, yeah.
But if
I live here.
Yeah.
Now I want to live over there.
But when in history have you ever had a government decide that it wants people completely unrelated to itself to suddenly occupy quota to come in.
Yeah, but it's not a it's a cultural issue. It's
Literally
not,
never. But it's all of Europe
yeah.
since World War II, no
Right.
matter what side you were on. So I would say it's not only is it unprecedented, but
I mean, dude, let's break it down, right? If I was unlucky enough to be born in fucking Afghanistan, the first thing I would do was get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, I would probably as a primordial right winger.
You know what I mean? It's like if I was unfortunate to be born there and I'm living there and I'm looking around seeing all these mental cases running around and all this stupid bullshit, I'd be like, you know what, guys? Later.
I guess
I'd be fucking gone.
But like if you looked at, like, let's say if you looked at the area we know as Afghanistan or Pakistan, if you looked at it in the modern era, like how was the state that we call that thing created? What was it like?
Oh yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, there's a lot of throughout history. I mean, the British fucked up that area beyond belief. You know, the British stopped fucking it up, and the U.S. came in and took its place.
Yeah,
I get it. I get it. There's a lot of bullshit there that's enforced by other nations. Yeah, for sure. But if you're just fucking Joe Blow, just Mr. fucking Joe Average, trying to live your life and raise your family, and all that you got this fucking retard government and all this crazy bombs going off every 2 seconds, I'd be like, you know what? I'm out. I'm gone. I'm out of there. Fuck that.
Yeah, by the way, we got to ask. Medieval's asking, is Luke drunk yet? I guess Luke is the one who was asking about that.
From the
I'm out of booze. So this is my
drinking game. That's his last little swig right there.
And I wasn't drinking a full shot every time, but I guess here's my perspective. Liberalism wants to take over the entire world.
It already has.
Okay, yeah, fine. Okay, okay, wait. Oh, wait, all right. Oh, really? Okay, we're fine. He's there already.
Dude, every government on the planet
is liberal. Yeah,
is liberal.
There are a few countries that don't have a central bank yet, and I would tie in liberalism with a central bank. And listen, don't go there, but basically, I would consider this a one world government already.
Okay.
I would imagine, I don't know what you would think about that, but I would consider it one world government already. So,
well, I see we're going down paths right now where things can get very, very strange.
Don't do it.
No, okay. I'll hit the brakes. Okay.
Just a little bit. Just hit the. Go down the hill. Put it into second gear.
Okay.
If you have a second, like my car, second gear, I don't even use first gear because first gear goes about 2 kilometers an hour before I need to use second. Use third gear,
dude. I don't even know what the fuck a kilometer is.
But,
I have no idea.
Wait, 1 mile per hour is 1.6 kilometers per hour. So 2 3 kilometers, 5 miles an hour. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's walking speed.
And another thing, all this metric bullshit. Why doesn't everyone just go back to miles and inches? It's so much easier.
You know what? It's totally fair enough. Totally fair.
So much easier.
Totally fair, but super duper based in some way, because if you're talking about you should go back to something, it's like go back to standards that were more equal and more that fit your people better. And I agree with that.
It's easier. Yeah.
I agree.
Kilometers and all that. Fuck that. A bunch of nonsense. What the fuck is a kilometer? What is this? Fucking Star Trek? Get the kilometers.
Before the metric system, they used to use a thing called for area wise, li, R-I, I guess you'd say in English, but li is like I don't know how what size. It might be an acre, it might be a little bit bigger, but that would describe how big your rice field was and how much yield you would expect from how many li. And I don't understand it properly. I'm obviously a Westerner in Japan, but there's if you talk about units of measure, things get deep really quick, and I mean deep from a ethnic and a religious and a racial and a like. Every sort of perspective get real deep real quick for every people on the planet. And then you're like, wait, why do we only use? Why are we pushing for metric? Like, why?
Yeah,
Yeah,
why?
As a
Wh-
right
wh-
winger,
Why?
I like.
Why? Why is metric a thing? Why is that why are people into that? I don't get it. It's fucking stupid.
That to say that to even, but still, for when I'm driving a car, by the way, I do like the idea that when you go 60 miles per hour,
Thank you.
every minute you go 1 mile. That is easy. So 100
It
kilometers
makes sense. It totally makes sense.
from a base 10's perspective, however, the 100 makes sense, except that when you're measuring against time.
And you know what?
miles
All
make
this
so much
this
more sense.
fucking this Celsius shit. Fuck that. It's Fahrenheit. Let's go. What's wrong with these mental cases?
I do like zero being freezing. No. To be fair, okay. To be fair, why do we even think about the temperature? Like, you know, our forefathers would be like,
cold.
if you look at that cloud cover, that cloud shape over the mountain, that means it's going to snow for 3 days.
Mhm.
Literally, I went to Mount Fuji 1 year ago with 2 years ago, before the Koof. Before the Koof, I went to the Mount Fuji with my cousin. He visited us, and we went to we went to a museum there, and they were just describing the different cloud formations above Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
And each of these cloud formations had a traditional understanding of how the weather would shape. But then modern meteorologists,
Yeah.
how you say it,
Yeah, meteorologist.
right, would also back that up and say, this is the weather it's going to happen for. And it corresponded perfectly because traditional society, its beliefs were meted out through thousands of years. You can't have a belief about something that doesn't work. You can't be like,
They learned the rhythm of the
exactly
of how it worked.
I mean, I would say the most scientific societies on the planet are the ones that still are traditional, because they've understand what works for them, what's worked for the fathers, and what's worked through history. But the ones that are trying to be like, we got a new way of doing things.
Mhm.
Those are the ones that are willing to that want to experiment with things. But I think they're experimenting on unfounded grounds. So when I went to Mount Fuji, it was so obvious. Like, this is the way that traditional people looked at the mountain. If they saw that formation, they knew the snow was going to happen for 3 days, or rain, or whatever, depending on the seasons. But now, what do? I don't know the weather unless I look at my app. We have no knowledge of the nature of the natural world. Sorry, none, because we're we're retarded.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've moved away from these skills because they're not needed anymore. We don't need them anymore, you know?
Yeah. But we do. I think we do. Listen, I would say we do, because,
well, I mean, if everything went to shit, we'd need them.
What if things have already gone to shit, and what we're living out like the last I've already used up that expression. But like we're living beyond the means of the modern world. Now, the modern world basically, which basically construes itself as hyper positive not I don't want to say libertarian because it's to screw up everything, but I'm going to say positive libertarian, whereas you have the freedom to do or think anything you want, but you don't have the freedom from you don't have the freedom from the government to think something. You have the freedom to think something, as long as it's a weird dichotomy.
Yeah, I see.
I'm not describing it well.
No, I see what you mean, because you're free to think whatever you want to think, but expressing those thoughts can cause problems.
Yes.
You know, you mentioned earlier on. You mentioned Sargon of Akkad.
Yes. Oh, do you know him?
I'm familiar with some, and he was arrested.
I didn't know.
Because as a joke, he taught his dog to raise his paw in the head whenever he said he said Heil Hitler. His dog would go like this.
Not Sargon. That was his friend.
Trained his dog.
Count Dankula. Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah. No, that's no problem.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, and he was arrested for that.
Yeah. Which seems insane to me.
It's fucking lunacy.
Yeah. Well, you know that people are getting arrested for tweets down in England. Up in England.
I know. It's insane. It's fucking insane. It is. It's like the lunatics have taken over the asylum. It's unbelievable that you can tweet something, and the next thing you know, oh, open up.
Do you have a license for that opinion?
It's yeah, exactly. It's unbelievable. It's
In the country that basically
unbelievable.
the chiseled liberalism out of the Magna Carta.
Fuck, it's unbelievable. You know, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
My friend Reeves, who does the Paratalk podcast with me, he texted me today that he said, "Is this true?" There was a newspaper article in the UK that they're seriously thinking of putting a curfew for men
6 p.m.
so that women will feel safer.
Oh, you know, the men that will stay home at 6 p.m. are not the English men. I would say that as a right winger.
But I mean, that's fucking madness.
Yes,
that they would even consider that. I mean, I think that the governments of the world are just trolling us.
It's beyond trolling, because if you can go to jail, if you can have your life taken away from you, if you can have your money that's based on some sort of banking system taken away from you for having an opinion, that's way beyond trolling. Trolling is just getting someone upset.
It's insane. It's absolutely fucking madness. You can't have an opinion. You can't express that opinion if it doesn't fit within the boundaries of, you know, whatever fucking nonsensical ideals these fucking retards have.
When I used to, so before I discovered that I need to have physics, I need to be able to pass physics class in order to get into architecture for university. I discovered that, well, I loved architecture. I wanted to go into that field.
Yeah. And
then I discovered that you had to, in order to get into it, you had to have, pardon me, just a moment. Sorry, just a moment.
That's okay.
I had to have physics, right? And I couldn't get into that.
Uh-huh.
And I just lost my freaking
place. I know. It's a horrible feeling.
I was going somewhere real important here. Just a moment.
Yeah, it happened to me. I had such pearls of wisdom you wouldn't believe. And it's about to leave my lips. It's like it's gone.
Oh, I got it back. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I got it back. So in grade 10, with secondary school year 2, if you're Canadian, I don't know about the English. I have no idea. But grade 10 or 10th grade in America, which is second year of secondary or high school, I went into architectural drafting, and the teacher we had was amazing. This was in California, by the way. We just moved to California for 6 months. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went to Canada, and he was strict. He's like, I want you to design a house that would be good to live in. Has this plot of land, and it's a tiny plot of land. So he wanted us to be able to use a tiny plot of land to be able to fit in a lifestyle that worked, either from the kitchen to the bedroom, to the kitchen to the living room, from the entryway to everywhere else, to make a life livable in a tiny space.
Right.
And the reason why you put constraints on thinking is the constraints allow freedom of thought. If you have no constraints, you can make, and this, when we moved to Canada, I loved architecture from that, because of that teacher's perspective. I loved it. It opened up so many opportunities. But when we moved to Canada, it's like, just design a house however you want. It can be as big as you want. So so the house, I can design anyone can design an amazing house as long as anyone has $5 million to spend on a house, right? You can have an amazing house as perfect everything. But the thing is, if you want to design something well within constraints, it has to be, you have to have so many rules put upon you.
Well, that what you're describing there is it's the bedrock of innovation, right? Is that when you have constraints or restrictions or problems or bumps in the road or things not going the way you want them to go, and you have to work around those things, that leads to innovation. It pushes things forward, right? And sparked a thought. I don't know whether I should go there, but I think I'm going to. Is it kind of ties back into Western civilization and European civilization. right? Because back in the day, you talk 1,000 years ago in Europe, that was not the nicest place to fucking live. Let's be honest. It was It was fucked up.
I will only say this: we only have accounts. We do. There are some accounts from the past that talk about it. We have a lot of accounts from the present that talk about it, and they're actually quite conflicting, though. Quite
freezing cold.
Yeah.
Right. It's cold as fuck. There's no food. It's a pain in the ass. It's a nightmare. It's a fucking nightmare to live there.
But you had no governmental interference.
You have no. But think about this, right? When you're in an inhospitable part of the world, and it's fucked up, and there's no food.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It means you got to work like a motherfucker to get shit done.
This is the sort of the winter complex, where winter
exactly
and a cold environment allows you to.
You gotta push. You gotta fucking innovate and figure shit out.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
to get things done. Whereas if you're living on the beach and the food is fucking falling off the trees, you don't learn. You're an imbecile. You don't learn a goddamn thing because everything's right there.
Yeah, sure, fair enough.
Right. So, which is why the northern part of Europe became technologically advanced and pushed forward, where the rest of the world was staring at the fucking wall.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, listen, no one knows for certain. I mean, like, I don't have any alcohol left, so I can't say what I want to say. But
am I wrong? Come on, be honest.
Well, okay, so I live in Japan. My I don't want to say a red pill moment, but I guess I could say probably a red pill moment was whilst living here in Japan. Whilst thinking that I believed in some sort of that I had some sort of skepticism that gave me some greater perspective on the world. And then I watched the job that I used to do be done in some, I can't remember what it was. I either went to some small Shinto shrine or something like that, and I looked at the architecture that held it up, and it was just all joinery. And recently I went on a hiking trip, and there was a pagoda or some sort of scenic area that you'd rest in for a while, all held up by joinery, not a nail in sight. And I was just like, I couldn't have done that. None of the people that I worked with could have done that.
That's like legit skill right there.
Yeah. The legit skill only exists through the perpetuation of your culture. I would say, as at least I don't have any, I can't say it anymore.
There you go.
That's ice. It's melted ice. But so the perpetuation of a culture, which only exists through the most innate and deep-rooted, deep-seated sort of things that were brought up through your people. Like, for instance, you put a traditional Japanese person. No, they can have the most amazing skills for farming, for carpentry, etc.
Yeah.
You put them in the middle of the Kalahari, they're not going to be able to get water from a root. That is completely innate to that area of the world. So I'm not saying that one culture is. I'm not a chauvinist of the West or a chauvinist of the East. I believe that localism, that people that,
but adversity builds innovation, and
that is true.
You're saying if you were to take a skilled Japanese builder and drop him in the middle of the fucking desert,
he'd be toasted today.
He'd be fucked, right?
Yeah.
But given enough time,
you would need a Bedouin.
But given enough time, he would figure that shit out.
Well, I would say maybe. I would say he would have to learn from the locals.
Well, say there are no locals.
I think he would die within a day.
Probably. Well,
yeah, I think he would die within a day.
Let's imagine it's not one guy. Let's imagine it's 1,000 people.
Oh yeah, I mean, sure, you would lose half your population with.
Say it's 1,000 people, and they got 10 years.
Okay, so you'd have
they would figure some shit out, and
they would figure out. They'd have to,
and make it work.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree with that. Like,
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think I'm just like more of a localist in general. Like the people that have the people that are born there, who live through that, have all the skills, have all the philosophy, have all the religion they need to survive that area.
Yeah.
That said, there's sometimes where you have like if you look at, like, I mean the Middle East is incredible. The Middle East has gone the cradle of civilization, right? You have the
I was
Canaan,
gonna say, the
like,
birth of civilization.
whatever you think about it, you have the Cain and Abel narrative, and there's a million narratives even based on Cain and Abel. Like the Abel, for instance, still exists today, and it involves a group of people. That Cain obviously doesn't exist today, but like there's
don't you think it's weird that the Middle East went from being the pinnacle of human civilization to being the world's asshole in about 1,000 years?
Oh, wait, so when would be the asshole portion would start? About when?
I don't know when it started.
Like, I guess you could say, like, I mean, the cradle of civilization, you're probably looking around 6,000, 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And there were hundreds of small city-state style, powerful, small empires, small kingdoms that fought against each other. I mean, you can even look at the Bible and just read about that. It's obvious. And whether or not that's true or not doesn't matter. But then you can also look after the Islamic conquest. You basically had those small civilizations wiped out, and they became part of the greater nation of Islam, I guess you could say. And then European paganism and European religion basically became Christianity. And it's, I mean, I wonder what like a libertarian would look at it. Would they be like, what happens to diversity? Or would they be like, this is how things go because of progress? Or because I mean, as a I don't know. I don't have this anymore. There's none more. There's nothing downstairs.
You're completely out of alcohol.
I do have wine. I do have wine, but it's not the same.
You don't have a beer? You don't have a beer floating around there somewhere?
Do have a beer, but you'd have to give me in a minute and a half. I'm pretty sure my wife would be like, dude.
It's Sunday afternoon and you're all fucked up.
You tell me, if you give me 2 minutes, I can come back.
I'll give you 2 minutes. I'll go through the comments and see what.
Why don't you do that? You're basically you're
what everyone's been talking about.
I'll be right back.
Let's see. What's Medieval's in there. What up, Medieval? How you doing, man? Let's see. Medieval says the imperial system was based on actual things. Metric is based on math. Both are useful. Let's see. Punches Couches is there. I have 2 ham radios in storage at work. There you go. Very good. What are you guys thinking about the conversation that we're having, by the way? Are you enjoying this? So the conversation is a little all over the place. We're jumping to different things, but I think it's I think it's pretty good. I think these kind of free flowing conversations are good and healthy, you know, to talk about these things, to get these thoughts out there. You know, whether or not I'm talking pearls of wisdom or absolute nonsense is kind of irrelevant, because we're throwing out ideas and concepts. Punches Couches, he says, "Wow, Gareth, that was deep." Are you being sarcastic? Are you being, or do you really think it was deep? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's see some more comments. Go ahead and type some stuff in there so I can see what's going on. Donna says the Christians stole the pagan beliefs and events and made them their own. That's very true. It was all twisted, yeah. Christmas and Easter and all those were pagan festivals that were converted to Christianity to convert the local populace. What else we get there? Medieval says the way laws are going, there's not much left to compromise with. I'm not sure what that means, Medieval. I ain't sure. Oh, Punches says, I actually thought it was deep. Awesome. Well, thank you, Punches. I appreciate that. I am here to provide deep thought to you people watching me. And I'm actually getting quite kind of buzzed. So this is like my eighth beer. So please forgive me if I start rambling about all kinds of crazy bullshit. I'll try to remain as lucid as possible until Nathan returns. Let's see what else is going on in the chat. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I certainly am. I'm having a good time talking about this stuff. Lots of fun. Medieval says it's 3 a.m. here. Is it really? What time is it? Holy shit, it's 11:30. I didn't even know what time it was. My God, I'm gonna have to wrap this up pretty soon. I didn't realize how late it was. Yeah, when Nathan comes back, I'm gonna have to. Shit, I had no clue it was that late. I thought it was like 10 o'clock. What the fuck? I'm really I'm shook. I had no idea. There he is, the man himself.
What did I miss? What did I miss?
I was just going through some of the comments and the questions from the
many things
in the chat. I think they're enjoying our conversation. The conversation is a little bit all over the place as we hop from
all over the place, yes.
this to that and go around. But I think it's a healthy conversation. I think it's a good conversation to explore ideas and concepts in a free form way. I think it's very good.
Did you like? I like how you put that. You sounded like a host of a successful podcast. You're like, in a healthy way.
Well, no, I really believe that. I think exploring alternate thought and other ideas, I think that is healthy. I think it's a good thing to go down paths and avenues that that you're not familiar with. I think it's good.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I don't remember exactly where we were, but I found some sake, by the way. This sake in the same. I actually didn't rinse it properly. So I was like, I've mixed. What have I mixed? I think I had some tea, and then I had some bourbon, and now I got some sake in here.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna be fucked
and
up.
You're actually, because time has gone on, I think I'll be all right.
We're on to 3 hours so far.
Yeah, it seems to be. It's probably should wrap things up
because it's 11:30 p.m. over here, and I didn't realize. I in my mind I was like, it's like 9:30. We're fine.
He says that's like an hour and a half after we started.
I know.
Yeah, well, what I can't listen. What was the last thing we were talking about?
Middle East. I have no
Middle
idea.
East.
Middle East, I guess. I don't know.
I guess I would say this. Whatever. I live downstream from 1,000 ramifications of what could have happened in Japan. So I'm living in liberal Japan, having lost World War II.
Yeah,
like it or not, I'm a right winger.
Well, I mean, had they won World War II, you sure as hell wouldn't be living there right now.
No, I absolutely probably agree with that. And I'm not saying that it's good or bad. And I got to be honest here. I don't think that any of us in the modern world, in the modern age, can know whether or not, can say for sure not Japan in that day was good or bad. Now, we have narratives about it.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. And I think that's the same for every country. We can talk about Genghis Khan or Genghis Khan, however you say it. We can talk about the guy with the mustache. We can talk about Neville Chamberlain. We can talk about anyone. And no, I'm being very honest here. We can talk about Lincoln. We can talk about.
You're you know what, Nathan? You're 100% correct. Our views on these people, it's somewhat jaded, or we're not getting the full picture.
Yeah,
I think that if we were alive in the 1930s in Europe, our views on what was happening there might be different to what we're looking at it now from the future looking back.
Yeah. As always, it should be. In some extent, at the same time, I would say that the future critiquing or the present critiquing the past basically misunderstands the fact that the present is also in its bubble that exists outside of the past and is trying to critique something that it doesn't understand because it has to take a different lens.
Well, I keep thinking, like, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now, when future generations look back to 2020 and the pandemic that engulfed the world, where we had to shut down the economy, right? Right? Their view would be very, very different to the view of the people that lived through it.
Mm. You know what? Speaking of so back to, by the way, I was just watching the chat at the moment right now. So is it? Can't remember. Is it the violent guy? Is it Punches Couches or is it
Punches?
Donna Winnie Witch says we were talking to somebody. I don't know who she's talking to. So we were talking about the equation destroying our world.
Luke, the equation destroy the world. Punches only have a couple of Ragnar videos. I don't even know what the hell they're talking.
Listen, the chat is going off. Like literally, there's like 1 out of every 100. I don't know how many. There's probably only like, let's say there's 50 chats up there. 1 out of every 50 is probably on topic, which means like no, that's not fair. 1 out of every 10 is on topic. But but okay, that's fair, and that's perfectly fine. But the topic. Originally, I wanted to talk about the Morgoth video, and we kind of went there and we kind of went out, and that's perfectly fine. But yeah, there is an equation, I believe. I don't follow. Listen, I like Morgoth a lot. Everyone has their own mind. I believe that the idea that we all have to be individuals. I've had a little bit of drink. Say it. Individualistically pursuing our own aims at the expense of coming together as a group. I think that's kind of the basic idea in Morgoth's video.
Right.
He's looking at Adam Curtis's. Now, I haven't done Adam Curtis's video, but there's the idea.
Well, I'm thinking. I was going to bring this up earlier, but let me just bring it up now. I think that the change in human society is normal. And it's natural,
of course,
right? But also, change in human society takes time.
Yeah,
it's never quick. It's never fast.
Never.
It takes a long time.
Never. Yeah.
Which really blows my fucking mind. The rapid speed in which change is engulfing the planet right now.
I would say that it's being orchestrated, but
thank you. And I was just going to go there. Is that the reason that these things are happening so quickly is that this was an intentional change.
Absolutely.
This is a manufactured change.
I live in a country whose constitution is written by Americans, and I'm not going to get beyond that word Americans, but like to the effect that what existed before is basically demonized completely.
Right. So earlier on, we were talking about narratives.
Yeah.
Right. And the narrative defines reality. And whoever controls the narrative controls reality. And that's essentially the world we're living in right now. And all this woke bullshit and all this, this individual nonsense and all this, I'm me and I'm this race and that race and whatever the fuck. This is a manufactured narrative that is designed to push the human race down a certain path. Now, what the end game is, or what's awaiting us at the end of that path, I have no idea. But I guarantee you, this is not natural. This is not normal. This is a manufactured, intentional path that we are being led down.
On that, we agree. Absolutely. I would take it this, like, I think that every race and every culture has their own possible future and their own divine right to an idea of themselves.
Yeah, but see, when you say race, I don't necessarily agree. I think that the main differences between people on Earth are not race. The main differences between people on Earth is culture.
I would put the two together, but I'm I'm a right winger. I know, whatever. I don't. At this point, the
It's
conversation
culture.
is way more interesting than.
It's the culture that fucks things up. It's not the people. I mean, it's
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
no, absolutely.
it's the culture. It's the culture clash. It's
No, I believe that.
my culture's better than your culture. No, it's not. My
Yeah.
culture's better.
No,
It's that.
agree.
It's
Agree.
all that shit. It's not so much the race of the person. It's the culture that they're embedded in.
Yeah, I mean, again, from a primordial perspective, I would put it this way: every person who's embedded it within some culture,
Yeah.
and I would say that no matter where you are in the world, and I personally think that you should think of your culture in order to generate forward, in order to have a future at all.
Uh-huh.
You should. Why is this thing so far away?
Oh.
Why don't I have that microphone that you got?
Hey,
But it's
you got the same mic stand as me, though.
I do.
The road thing.
That's right. In fact, I got a road thing up here. Yeah, road. Yeah,
You got the
fine.
same
You got.
stand.
Yeah, right. Fine. He's got a better mic than me. What? It doesn't matter. But I got this thing here. It's cool.
You
I can go
do?
like this. All right. But it's Audio Technica, and I like Audio Technica. By the way, we'll do some earphone stuff.
They make some good shit, dude. They really do.
And they're the most boring company ever. But yes, they do.
They make good stuff for sure. I agree. I totally agree with you.
Boring as hell. But back to the thing is like the local, the people. I believe that the people. I'm not going to say that this culture is better than that. I do have, whether I've met a bunch of libertarians have described my perspective as aesthetically leaning or something like that. And I think that's kind of too simple. However, I'm not going to say I believe this culture better than that, but I believe that every culture is adapted to its specific place on the planet and time on the planet,
Right.
except for right now, where the entire world is trying to engulf itself within a single banking system, within a single political system, where if you're not a liberal Democrat, and I don't mean Democrat like capital D, like the party, I mean like you're a democratic power, and you're not you're a liberal. If you want to be a kingdom, you can be. Eventually, if you want to be kingdom, you want to break away from the banking system. You want to break away from the liberal system.
It's like every culture must try to be like Western culture, but you have to hate Western culture.
That might be a step too far. I would say that at the moment, especially after World War II, could be. I personally think that. Listen, like I said, I'm a traditionalist, so I would be against generally liberalism with a capital or a small L, being that any liberal society that then wanted to affect itself onto other societies is doing something wrong. So from the French Revolution or the American Revolution on, where we see the proliferation. Thank you. Whatever that word is, around the world of a very similar sort of democratic, liberal economic system has to be in Japan. I mean, that is insane. Why should the same system be in Japan? Why can we not have a world of 1,000 different systems? Somehow,
I'll tell you why.
Well,
is that the top of the pyramid in Japan, the people that are at the top of the hierarchy are in bed with the people in the hierarchy on the other countries.
I agree with this. Can't talk about it though.
And it all trickles down.
I agree with this.
We got multiple pyramids, all leading up to one pyramid, and the people, if they are people, at the top at the top of the pyramid are saying, "Hey guys, we're doing this," and it trickles down, and they all got to do that same shit all over the planet.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. That's the way it happens. That's the way it is.
Generally, I agree. I mean, I don't know how the shape everything takes, but yeah,
it all trickles down, and then the next thing you know, you got in some fucking country out in the middle of nowhere saying, "Yeah, we're going to do this too." Then why are you going to do that? You got your own sovereign nation. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. Why are you following what all these other countries are doing?
I would put it more to like
basically because I've been told to.
Or if you went your own way, your way was deposed.
Yeah, and if you fight against it, then guess what? You're gonna be fucking dead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that's so.
Yeah.
Like what's the okay? I'm not gonna say I got as a right winger. I'm not trying to think like what's sort of you're out. Well, we're basically out of the live stream anyway. But like,
I know it's almost midnight. We should start.
Let's wrap it up. Yeah, let's wrap it up. I'll say this: as far as I can tell, I think that if we're gonna go forward. By the way, if you'd like to do this again, and your chat would like to, your guys and my guys, I don't know if they're gonna meld. I have no idea.
I'm sure they will. Chat room people, if you've enjoyed the chat, would you like to see a part 2 or part 3 or whatever it is? Let us know because
we're going forward.
I've really enjoyed this, dude. I've had a great time talking to you about this stuff.
Listen, you chatted, you commented on my MD stuff, from maybe a year or a year and a half ago, and then I ignored and answered some of your questions, and then looked at your Twitter, and then looked at your podcast, and I was like, wait a second here. There's some common ground that's beyond the mini disc here that exists.
Look at these fucking things. I got a million stupid things, and I got
a high MD here, which I think is poison, and yet also nectar from the gods,
nectar from
ambrosia.
Yes.
Like what I'm going to say is like. There's connections here that exist, which are beyond. Listen, whatever right winger or left winger or libertarian or
I don't like these labels, dude. These like left, right, whatever the fuck. All these like labels. How about you just that's you. This is my thought. This is the way I think. Or you have to lump in with this group or that group or all this nonsense. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that people. I like groups, but I think we. whatever the fact is, I'm glad you came on.
Yeah,
I hope. If your listeners like it and my listeners like it,
we have a bunch of in the chat. It's like, yes, this has been good. Do a part 2 for sure.
Okay, all right.
Thumbs up for part 2. So yeah, we got some.
So maybe we do part 2, part 3.
They've enjoyed the conversation, and I'm totally up for doing this again.
Okay,
I've had a great time. Very cool.
Well, if that's good here, I'm going to talk to the chat directly, if that's all right. So what I'd like to do is maybe I don't know how to format that exactly. Gareth is obviously an MD enthusiast to some degree or another. He's also broadly out there to a similar to maybe to a more extreme, maybe to a less extreme degree than I am in terms of however you describe reality. I have no idea. But we have a couple of different like relations here that we can we can connect with. And he did tell me what I already knew, but he reinforced the fact that if I were to focus just on MD, I would have a much bigger channel. The thing is, I'm not how can I describe it? I'm gonna try to you got something right there.
I was gonna say that everyone has lots of interests. Yes. But if you're going to do a channel, you got to stick with one.
No, I totally agree. The thing, Fauxtaku. I think, I named this channel right and wrong. I'm going to do a lot more MD stuff, okay? For you and for the MD crazies out there. And for myself, which I got to be honest, MD has, from 2014 on, I've really thought about it, and MD has dominated my audio life. Now to have it still in my pocket. Where'd it go? It's gone. All right. So here's a high-end middle of the range DAP, which by the way has optical output from here. You can see if you can fire it up. Let's see. Right at the end, we'll do this.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if they'll show the red bum. For all you people listen from Mindset Central, there's a red bum that comes out, and the red bum you connect to your red bum, and then it transfers all the information digitally. That is a technical explanation. Wait, can you see? Oh, it doesn't show it. No, man, what the heck?
I don't see
Wait,
it.
I don't have a cable. You forget it.
Okay.
Anyway, if
I
you
believe-
connect the right cable into it, this DAP, which is called I can't. It doesn't come out. All right, whatever. It's called the Plenu R2 from iRiver. The company that does iRiver is called Plenu.
Right.
Plenu. You can do an optical output from this bad boy and do MD, but in real time, you can also take your high res audio and add various effects, including EQs, including various.
So you can tweak
spatial audio,
recording
onto your MD and get the same sort of sound. Because, listen, I've tested this back to back. I don't know if I'm going to actually properly demonstrate on my channel, but audio comes down to the fact that whether you can believe it or not. And most of the time, if you A/B exit, which is blind test back to back, there's no difference between similarly recorded stuff. And that thing does 24, 192, and also I can't believe it does. I don't know if it does 32-bit, but anyway, it's proper. It's proper DSD, proper high res. Does fine. You can get the same sound from an MD that you've recorded from it via optical, with all the effects.
Right.
Padded in there.
That's
all right.
Cool.
Is awesome, and I will cover that. And one of the last, yes, sir.
Can I make a recommendation for a video?
Okay, I'm gonna make a video. Make a note.
Your future MD video.
Make a note. I'll make a note. Let's do a note.
Is for you to make a video on your MD recording workflow.
Oh. But what if my workflow ain't pretty cool? What if it's
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
All right.
Like how you get all your audio onto this, and when it's on here, what do you do to make sure that it's at the highest quality possible?
Okay. All right. Oh, I just dropped a piece of wood on my lap. That's all right. All right. Make sure it is. Yeah. All right.
And whether you're using a deck or just a recorder or both or whatever. I mean, I think that would be fascinating. It'd be cool to watch, you know?
I totally agree with that, man. I totally agree.
And I want to, the people that are watching that are fans of Mindset, please subscribe to.
How'd you do that?
Fauxtaku Lounge. Or am I saying it right?
Yeah, it was fine. I don't know how you did the subscribe button. I want to touch it. I'm trying to touch it right now. It's not. It's not. It's not working.
Yeah, it's not working. So please subscribe to his channel. If you like, audio products and cameras and MD and me and Nathan ranting about the state of the fucking shitty world, please subscribe. It's a great channel.
Anything here or not?
Yeah. It's a great channel. Hit the subscribe button. I think you'll enjoy it, and we'll come back next week or whatever and do a part 2 of this rambling conversation where we put rights to the world.
Sounds good.
But we should wrap it up because it is getting down.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll say it like this. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for tuning into this second stream with Gareth Davies, Davis or Davies or Davies or
Davis.
Davis.
Yes.
However you want to say that.
What's wrong with you, dear boy?
The dear boy has never been to England. That's the problem. The dear boy's parents met in England.
Ah, yes.
That's the end of it. We'll finish that story some other time. Okay. Janie's in Lentz. Ladies and gents, Jay's in Lentz in the season of Lent. God bless you. Have a wonderful time. We'll see you later.
Later, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wait, have I done